Connecting here. Okay. And here we go. Hello, everyone. And this looks okay. And we're moving this here. Hello, everybody. Bonjour, tout le monde. And this is the Friday edition. Something is, I don't know, different, but I'm trying to figure out what. That's good. 1, 2, 3. I don't know why it doesn't look. It usually does for some reason. Okay. Anyways, it looks good. So, hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is the Friday edition of the Shortwave radio show. Yep, this is the show where we talk about radio, 0 to 30 megahertz, but sometimes we add more. We talk about more. And of course, we're here twice a week. We had a Wednesday evening show, which was a lot of fun. And Wednesday, it's at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 0 UTC. And on Friday, it's at 20 UTC or 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, a little messed up because of the time change. Unfortunately, that is one of the things that sometimes, even I'm getting mixed up this week. I've been listening to some shortwave signals. And, I'm so used to 4-hour difference that I've been an hour off on UTC many times. And many times I'm like, well, these stations aren't there. It's weird. And then I realize, oh, no, it's not 20. It's 19 right now or, whatever in the evening. It's kind of weird. And, it's part of the mix-up of the first few weeks of being on, an hour shifted time. So, welcome aboard. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we, of course, are here to entertain and talk about radio. Today, we're going to tune the bands a lot. We're going to concentrate on tuning the bands, looking at what signals we can hear, what is on the air, and hopefully you'll enjoy today's show. We have a beautiful chat room with wonderful people that are here to help out, answer questions, and just, we're just having a lot of fun together. And, of course, hope that you will enjoy today's show. Of course, we will answer questions and talk about all of this. And, by the way, I wanted to say that you guys on Wednesday made somebody very happy. Elizabeth, that I had talked about, that sent me another email after the show on Wednesday saying, hey, that she was so touched by the fact that everybody was welcoming her. For those that weren't there, Elizabeth is blind and listens to the radio and listens to the audio of the show and really enjoys the friendship and the fact that she feels like part of even more now. She feels even more part of a gang of radio geeks, and it's kind of fun to have that happening. It's really, really cool. And she is, of course, she was thrilled that everybody was just saying hi. And of course, I kicked the camera, so everybody was saying hi, and she was just so happy to be part of it. And hope that she's once again listening today, and it was a lot of fun to have. I think this is probably what is the best thing that happens here. And it's the fact that we try to have everybody feel welcome. We try to have everybody, feel at home with other radio guys. And I think that if I succeed in at least part of it, it's kind of cool. We're kind of a big friendship of radio here. And this is nice for that. So kind of cool to have all of this happening. So this is the Friday edition, of course, and hope that you will enjoy our show today, as usual. Okay, let's check this out. Matambale, nice to have you here from Colorado. Bolin 191 wants to set up a long wire antenna, I would guess. What else do we have? Rodolfo 65 in New York City. Nice to have you here. Hey, Sheldon. Hope your back is not too bad. And hope you are getting better. Nice to have you here from Greenfield Park, Quebec. William Conlon. Nice to have you on board. And, well, you were here on Wednesday. I don't know why you don't see it. You're here. You were here last Wednesday. I don't get it, William. What you mean? You were here Wednesday. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here, my friend. Matt in Colorado, Denver, Colorado. W0MDK, nice to have you here. WA0080 SWL, call sign. I've been Ballin 191. I've been when I was young, I had this little Part 15 transmitter for medium wave or AM radio, and had a lot of fun broadcasting that, and that was kind of fun. Shifkoff, Fishkoff, nice to have you here, my friend. What do we have? PLF Radio, nice to have you on board. Bonjour et bienvenue de la France. C'est toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Bobby Burgess from Louisiana, USA, WA5107 SWL. What else do we have? Terry Cook, KF7BQ, nice to have you here in Montana. Jerry DX, nice to have you on board. Max Edstrong, nice to have you here from Michigan, USA. Brent from Brockville, Ontario, Canada, nice to have you here. Neil Toombs, nice to have you here. M0CJM in the UK. Cyberflyer1, nice to have you on board. Different type of beer. I've got no beer today. I've got, so I went out with a couple of friends last night, and we had some beers, so I didn't feel like drinking beer. I got my case of beer here in front of me, but I didn't feel like really drinking beer today. So I made myself a vodka, 7-Up, and cranberry juice drink for the show today. So cheers, everybody. Kind of good. HF Zone, nice to have you on board, my friend. Josh, WA4333 SWL. Gary Thomas, nice to have you here. Loves the MLA loop. Thanks for the review. Cool. I mean, it's an amazing loop. DE2TRF, nice to have you here from Germany, my friend. David, it's 3 p.m. Do you know where your radios are? HF Zone WRMI has been messing up because of the time change. Yeah, I've noticed that actually not just WRMI, a few transmissions I was listening to, and the programs weren't at the time that I thought they were supposed to play. Michael, nice to have you here, my friend, from Clarksburg, West Virginia. Nice to have you here. Pagemaster, nice to have you on board, my friend, from KC5VOY, WA5136 SWL. Nice to have you here. Don Stefano, nice to have you on board from Frankfurt, Germany. Matambale says, and hello to Elizabeth. Missed my chance to say hello Wednesday night. So, hope she is listening to the show today. Joe Runtman, nice to have you here from Chicago area. Jason Pongratz, nice to have you on board. Just got a TS950 SD back from repair, all tuned up now. Really cool. So, yeah, Max Headstrong. So that was the, she wrote a nice big email earlier this week. and she was mentioning how she was listening to the show for the past 2 years. She's got a Kenwood R5000 with a the audio synthesizer attached to it, so that she can have the frequency she's tuned read to her, and she listens to the show. And she's been listening for 2 years, but she doesn't participate much, and because she's blind, she can't. She's visually impaired. She can't really come into the chat room. So she just wanted to say hi and how she was happy to be part of the show. So now she sent me another email just saying how she was touched by the fact that we actually all said hi to her. And she was, I think it made her week. She was really, really happy, and it's really nice, and they're just like great people here, and of course she's always welcome to say hi. And by the way, if you're listening in Elizabeth, send just a little quick email. I'll check my phone regularly, and you can just say hi, and I'll see if you're live tonight. And let me just check now. So she's not written right now, but we're going to check it out. And anybody that wants to say hello, just please, you're not on the chat room or anything. You can say hi through the email. I'm going to check the email every 15, 20 minutes. And if you want to say hi through email, right, because you're not in the chat, officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com is the email. officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. Jerry DX, nice to have you here, says hi Elizabeth. Neil Toom says that's so great that Elizabeth enjoyed the show. Trouble is, the odd few people in the world paint a bad image for the rest of us. 99.9% of people are good. Yeah, pretty much. It's really a very small percentage of people that actually make everything bad. So it's nice to have you on board, Brian Penny. Nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Morrison AV, bonjour. Nice to have you here, my friend. I got your trusty antenna switch right here next to me, so I can switch between antennas easily. Carlos Bernardo, nice to have you here from Portugal. Tube to Holland, nice to have you on board, my friend. Mark Elford, nice to have you here. John Pickney, nice to have you on board back in Virginia after a week in Toronto and a weekend in Nevada. W3XWT, cool. OSM 2510, nice to have you on board from Istanbul. Cool, really nice to have you here. And Robert Prosper, it's winter in New York City. It's winter here too. We had some snow all day yesterday. We just had a cloud move by, and it was almost like a snowstorm for like 5 minutes, and it deposited a little bit of snow on the ground. Actually, it's below zero here. It's in Celsius, so it's like -2, -3. So we're in the upper 20s right now, which is so it's the first real big freeze in winter, and we actually might have at least 5 inches of snow on Tuesday, apparently. And it's cold. It's kind of cold because normally at this time of year, we should have temperatures in the 40s, and now we're in the 20s. So it's colder than usual, and it's going to apparently stay like that for the next days and even a couple of weeks. We're kind of in a cold spell. Mark Cope, have you heard Radio New Zealand recently? I always check, but haven't heard it in a few weeks. I actually heard it last weekend on, on a Sunday morning before I went to CKUT. I woke up earlier than usual because I had a few things to do and help a friend go to the train station. And I woke up early and listened to Radio New Zealand on, what was it? I think it was 9765, if I remember well, the frequency. And it was coming in really well, actually, last Sunday. Matambale, 16135, KVM 70 Fax, Honolulu. Cool. Let me try that one, 16135. Anything here? Nope, not even a peep. Not even a peep of a signal. So, well, you were in the chat room on Wednesday. I do remember that, William. I don't understand what's happening here. R. Walker, nice to have you here, my friend, from Washington State. So, good to see you're not empty-handed. PLF Radio, like your tutorials about the XH Data D808. Yeah, and there's going to be a lot more of them. Actually, I got so much responses of people saying, you know what? Thank you so much for making those, because your way of explaining is so easy to follow. So, it's going to be there's going to be a full manual using the memory the memory pages and everything, how to delete and add memory stuff, do a band scan. All of that is coming up. It's just that I need the time to do it, but once time is there, I try to do the most that I can to help out. But I've had a tremendously good response of people saying, you know what, it's so cool that you are actually explaining how to use the XH Data D808. It's like I said Wednesday, you tend to forget sometimes that not everybody understands the radio the way I do. Also, one of the things that I also forget is I'm a technical guy, and, I use computers, and I've been a tech guy. So part of some of the things that happen with this are actually kind of natural to me. And you kind of understand. I'm not going to do something. Sorry, guys. I'm going to put the camera like this. Okay, here we go. A little broader view of everything. So, anyways, it's easy to forget that, not everybody's technical, and that because I get the radio, you can't assume that everybody understands what how the radio works and how the devices work, because it doesn't work like that. You kind of understand at some point that, well, okay, maybe I'm a little more technically advanced, and some people actually do need help understanding some of that, honestly. PageMaster says the following programs that I have finally operational: MMSSTV, FLDG, MultiPSK, and WSJTX on the desktop. Having an exciting time decoding. This is cool, and it's cool when it's something that you're starting to do that you never really done much before. It's really so much fun to decode signals and listen into the other side of what is shortwave. Digital modes. There's some stuff out there that are, not, you're not going to hear or understand it with your ears. You'll understand this, what what they have to say with your computer, and it's kind of cool. Eddie SX, nice to have you here. Paul Langford, nice to have you on board from UK. Uses an SDR Play RSP1A and an MFJ 1886 loop. Cool. Simon Templar, nice to have you here. He loves the Facebook page. Yep, and for those that haven't yet joined, we now have a Facebook page. It has the same name as my channel, official SWL channel. So if you go on Facebook, you can join our page. I'll be posting things like daily. One of the things I want to post is daily suggestions of radio listening. I'll be posting a little later today that suggestion. Actually, will be kind of Radio Thailand schedule, because somebody has posted a video on the page. But once again, the Facebook page is there for fans of this channel, of the live shows. What I want there is friendly chat, posting of your own, reception of anything that you've been listening to. You can post a video, post a picture of your shack, talk about yourself a little bit. Let us know who you are a little more, and interact. Let's share all our loggings and all our what we've been doing with radio, and have a lot of fun, and make it as more, it's kind of that interactive place when this is not happening, where everybody's in the chat. Well, there's that interactive place on Facebook where you can actually share your own stuff. So it's kind of cool. Max Headstrong says hi, Elizabeth. John Pickney, hello there. And says hi, Elizabeth. Mats Johansson, nice to have you on board. Yeah, Sweden Calling the Xers. I do remember that show. I would listen to that religiously in the 80s every week. Man, I loved that show. It was one of those really, really fun shows. There's actually a nice recording on YouTube. If you type Sweden Calling the Xers on YouTube, you'll have a really nice recording of, I think it's from 1980 or something like that. It's really, really cool. Man, it brings back old days. You feel like you're at that time again in the past. Kevin Wood, nice to have you here from Nova Scotia. Redalva65 says hello, Elizabeth. David, KJ4CMY. Hi, Elizabeth. Hope you're listening. Bobby says, hey, Elizabeth. Let's see if I got anything here. And I just got an email from Elizabeth saying thank you all, that she finds that it's really cool. She feels welcome. She has her Kenwood R5000 turned on and waiting for tuning some of the frequencies. She says please mention the frequency at least twice out loud so I know where to tune or where to listen on my radio. And once again, I just want to say she's in Regina and Saskatchewan, Canada. So, and she says, thank you, everyone. It's fun to feel the love from your channel, and only a good person could actually have such great people among him. Wow, that is so touching. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's nice to see that you are here, and really, really nice to have everybody here. And I just saw something. So a few people have asked to join the Facebook page. Let me just check and make sure that everybody is included. I'm going to go here. Has everybody been approved? So Sheldon, approved Sheldon. And Tony Webster. We'll wait for Tony Webster to answer the questions. And here we go. Alan Lafferty, nice to have you here, says he's got trouble getting into the chat. This is weird, because if you're logged in with a Gmail account, you should actually be in the chat room quite easily. It's very weird, but nice to have you here, Alan. So here I'll post actually facebook.com/groups/official SWL channel. I think this should work in bringing all of you to the Facebook page. And I hope to have really a nice interaction. We've reached 100 members this morning. So 100 members in what, 2 days? 2 days and a half, 3 days. So it isn't too bad. Let's have it grow even more. I was thinking before the show where we're going to reach today. Last week was our record show. Last week we had 217 people watching, which is a record for the live viewership. So let's hope that we get high numbers again today. Zach Liang, nice to have you here, my friend. JRDX, polar vortex, stay away from me. Yeah, it's something like that. You know, the polar vortex is going to actually become a problem in the future. I was talking about the fact that they were talking about the weakening of the jet stream. And that's why there's more and more of those cold snaps coming down. Whoops. John Pickney says, recent discussion about feeding outdoor antennas through windows doors. Saw an interesting gadget for the MFJ website. Not cheap, but perhaps works worth the look. Yeah, and they do have a very thin coax that you could use to put through sliding windows also. Matt in Colorado is hearing Radio New Zealand in the morning on 6115. Sidvik, nice to have you here, my friend. PLF Radio, there are big signals on your SDR. What are they? So I've got on my SDR right now. One is WWCR. So let's zoom in a little more so you guys see a little bit more. So it's 15825. One is WWCR. 15770 is WRMI. I got 15730. That sounds French. Oh, and by the way, the EIBI list of frequencies has updated November. There's a November update, November 6th. So if you guys want to have, because they were from October 31st, I noticed they had quite a few mistakes in them. Now they're probably fixed up. So 15730 is Voice of America French. That's what it sounded like right now. WEWN 15610. WJHR in Milton, Florida, 15555 upper sideband. The BBC on 15490. Radio Havana, Cuba in English on 15140. 15140. And we had WWV. WWV time signal on 15 megahertz also. So, interesting 19 meter band here being received. That's weird. I thought you were here, William. But I don't understand why you can't be here on Wednesday anyway. It's weird. It's very weird you can't be here on Wednesday. There's no difference. It's just that it's not the same time. You just got to remember that it's later than the Friday show. Douglas Elliott, nice to have you here. The occasional visitor. PA1SBM, nice to have you here. Alex from the Netherlands. Okay. What else do we have? Going down. Christophe Boxtail, nice to have you here. In Belgium. Oh, cool. Send me the link in the email, Christophe. We're gonna check it out and we're gonna talk about it. If your channel has mostly radio videos, we'll promote it. I'll be happy to talk about it. 11770. I have a high noise today. There's something different. There's higher noise than usual. 1170, I believe, is Voice of Nigeria, isn't it? I think it's Voice of Nigeria, a regular broadcast. Yeah, and I'm actually. It sounds like Voice of Nigeria right now. There's some music right now. I'm pretty sure this is Voice of Nigeria. It totally sounds like it. 11770, Voice of Nigeria, is. I'm receiving it here with S7, S8 peaks. Oh, really, Kevin? Hope it's not too bad. John from Voice of the Report of the Week, some sort of accident. Hope isn't too bad. Neil Toombs says, Facebook page, now some place to hang and post, discuss radio topics. Cool, thanks. A lot of people really enjoyed the fact that I actually created a Facebook page, so it's really nice. R. Walker says, a lot of U.S. Air Force activity on 11175 today. Cool. What do we have? Summon Templar. Cool. Thanks. Shannon Harvey just joined the Facebook group. Cool. Bob Pierpont. Nice to have you here. Don't own a shortwave radio, but like using online radios that have shortwave. That is cool. I mean, one of the things that's fun about SDRs online is the fact that you can actually still listen to shortwave signals, so it's cool. And you can follow us. Just choose a receiver and follow what we'll be tuning today. Mike DX, nice to have you here. 17800 at 15 UT today. French English weather for Mini Transat. Oh yeah, there's a special broadcast for that, eh? Right now. Joseph Ivankovich, nice to have you here. W8JXQ. So tempted to buy the new RSPDX. I have the RSP Pro and love the RSDR Play products. I might actually be purchasing that as a Christmas gift for myself. If it's available. I'm waiting for it to be available, but I think I'm going to buy it and review it at the same time. Radio Telescope. Nice to have you here. And she wants to say hello to Elizabeth at the same time. What else do we have? Michael Satterfield. Nice to have you here. Recently received his MLA 30 and loving it. Thanks for the recommendation. Cool. I'm happy. Really happy. Simon Templar says, members here and on the Facebook page are like a huge family. It's great to have you in this family, Elizabeth. Absolutely. Maybe she can join in the Facebook page somehow. Jerry's listening to OnTAR's net on 3755. Jerry Morsdorf. Have you heard WBCQ's new 500 kilowatt transmitter on 9330? I haven't heard WBCQ on 9330 in a little while now. A couple of weeks at least. John Pickney says, regarding window door feed-throughs in the distant past when I was happily married, I threaded RG174 50 ohm coax through the balcony door framework and hacked UG174 reducers on PL259s. Yeah, they do sell some it's like a flat coax that can fit through a door or a window. Andy Coley, nice to have you here, and happy to add you on the Facebook page, of course. Neil Toombs, few people asking to join Facebook group in the list, but they are not answering the questions. Always, answer the questions, but also one thing, Neil, I've noticed that when the questions are not answered, if you wait 10, 15 minutes, it seems like asking to join appears immediately, and they're still answering the question for some reason. It'd be nice to answer the questions, because one of the reasons, by the way, that I added the questions is to kind of dish out if you're a listener or not, kind of. So if you know how to answer the questions, you probably are a true listener. And of course, one of the tricks I just want to say here, when somebody joins in, look at, how long they've been on Facebook, how long, how they answer the questions. Of course, we're not going to accept any any bad people there. It's like you're gonna be kicked out real fast, and more than kicked out. If you do have or do a bad thing, not only I'm gonna kick you out, I will actually report you to Facebook at the same time. Exactly. I really wonder if you tested above 20 megahertz with the RSP. Yes, quite a lot. I actually was listening to 11 meters this morning. And I have also listened to satellites on the VHF and UHF range, Zach. It works great. Rekre, nice to have you here from Turkey. Imad Abbas, bonsoir de l'Algérie. Nice to have you here. Yeah, that's for sure, John. Because the problem with these cables is that if you close the windows all the time, they actually can get crushed. Absolutely. Shannon Harvey says Canada Time Single CHU celebrated birthday this week, 80-year-old on November 5th. Yep. And I don't know if you knew, Sheldon, 7850 is off since October 26th, something like that. I read it, and actually on the page, if you go to the official CHU Canada page, they do say that they're offline, and there's no indication of when it's going to be back. I remember a year or two ago, they had some problems with 7850. The feed line from the transmitter to antenna had some kind of problem, and they had to replace it. So I don't know if the same type of problem they're having again, but it's so 7850 is off. So the two working frequencies of CHU Canada time signal right now is 3330 and 14670. But incredible when you think that it's 80 years. 80 years. It's just crazy. Just crazy. Paul, nice to have you here. Paul M. Somewhere in the subway of the city of Buenos Aires. Nice to have you here, my friend. And thanks for sharing the story about the CHU's anniversary. Jerry Morsdorf says WBCQ just missed it. 2030 transmission on 9330. Yeah, well, the 500 kilowatt, I heard it to something like, well, I didn't hear it, but I heard reports of people hearing a transmission on the 19 meter band 2 weeks ago. But they do have a lot of problems with it, and I don't know what's happening, but it looks like a big mess down in Monticello, Maine. Matt S. Strong says, had a great time today band scanning with his Drake R8B. I love that radio more and more. It has a unique personality. It feels like an SDR. Cool. Paul Langford, how do you do much medium wave DXing? That's my interest. The season is just starting. I'm not a big fan of medium wave DXing, but I do medium wave DXing regularly. I like to, once or twice a month, probably what I do is sit down, not with the SDRs or anything. I actually like using a portable radio. I've got an AN200 Texan loop antenna, passive loop that you can tune. And I use a portable, and I slowly go through the medium wave band, channel by channel, trying to identify what I'm listening to. And I actually do enjoy when I do it from time to time. Imad Abbas, well, we have no other news on the PL990. There's still no official release date, so we don't really know a lot about it right now. David, KJ4CMY, Air Force activity in 11175. Maybe the U.S. President and Vice President are in Atlanta. Robert Babcock, nice to have you here. W0RAB. Nice to have you here, Rob. And Blind Ham. So it's cool that you can actually work the equipment and have using your ears and listening to the world and talking to the world. It's kind of cool. Matt UK, nice to have you here. Of the Dawn. Nice to have you here. I will not be on later this evening. It's usually 2-3 hours that we do here in general, sometimes a little more. Erie, Pennsylvania dude, why does FLDG seem like such crap on so-called modern Windows? What exactly do you define as crap? What don't you like about it? I kind of like it. Zach Liang says he prefers to use console with RSP. Jeff Williams, nice to have you here, Jeff, from South West Cornwall. What else do we have? So there's an update on the Texan PL990 and H501. Matthew K, RSP Duo, really good SDR. Absolutely. Amazing SDR. Rob, nice to have you here. Says hello to Elizabeth. And nice to have you here from Phoenix, Arizona. Tube to Holland. Yes, I did see your Wayner-coded MLA30 loop. Kind of cool. Maybe I should do something like that. Tube to Holland. Nice to have you on board, Paul. PD1 PME. What else do we have? PageMaster just received a slow scan image of Canadian Station VE2 Peace. Oh. I guess it's a special event station for the upcoming celebrations. I just go to 14230 just out of curiosity. See if anything is being transmitted there in slow scan TV. Oh, they do care, R. Walker. I have dealt with that in the past, and they actually do care. I even have a friend of mine that actually posted a picture that was deemed to be offensive, and he was blocked for like 2 days. They actually are pretty serious about it, R. Walker. TOT, nice to have you on board. How about a pizza? Nice to have you here. Oh, man. What else do we have? But I can tell you, R. Walker, they do suspend accounts if you or if a few people complain. Moonfest Madness, nice to have you here, my friend. Creep Brian, nice to have you on board from the former GDR territory. Radio Berlin land. John Pickney says Elecraft recently got a multi-million-dollar U.S. Air Force subcontract. Wow. David KJ Forrest CMY. Passive loops are essential for medium wave DXing. Yep, playing with knobs is fun. Matt UK says if you're stuck for space, Bonito antenna are really great. You know, the MLA30 loop isn't that big for an indoor use. It's actually quite nice. Of the Dawn says the 990 is sexy. You know, it looks a little squarish. It's kind of feels kind of older because of the fact that it's really square box. You know, today with the rounded edges in radios and stuff like that, when you see something that is really a square box, it's like, wow, that looks kind of old almost. Well, for sure, the UI for FLDG is, you know, look, it's like, I'm sorry, but multi-PSK looks like a Windows 98, you know, UI when you're using it. The important thing is it does the job that it's meant to be. That I think is the most important thing about it, honestly. So, you know, this is probably, they don't update the UI that much. Maybe that's, I do find multi-PSK kind of crappy in the interface. But they do the job they're meant to do. And, at least that is okay. Mr. Lucky Train, looking forward to Texan's new AN48X. Yeah, that is something that I'm curious also. And when it is available, I'm going to probably purchase one to see how it performs. That's the first thing I'm going to do is order one and test it here. Creep Brian, can you try if you could receive UVB76? I'll try with PL380, although it's only AM. Yeah, but the buzzer, when it's strong enough, it buzzes strong enough that even on AM you hear it well. Let's just try it out here. The sun is setting in an hour roughly, so it's still maybe a little early for that. Not hearing anything, but we'll try again in about an hour. Could make a difference. Here the sun is still up. It's setting in about roughly an hour from now. So we're gonna try it out a little later. Nick Amendelt from Romania. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Jersey bound. Nice to have you here from New Jersey. Really nice to have you on board. So Texan 990 and H501 are going to be out early 2020. It's going to be kind of interesting to see. Hey Fastload, nice to have you here. What, you didn't go to work today or something? Moonfest Madness has caused the MLA30 to Borg antenna. Done some more modifications. Cool. SolarFlux 69. The one of the things about the SolarFlux, about the solar activity, there was an interesting bit on spaceweather.com about it. How we just had a update that there was a small flare. So last on November 1st to November 5th, there was a sunspot, AR 2750, and it actually created a little B1 flare, which is a very small flare, but it was one of the sunspots of the new cycle 25. So it's kind of telling us that slowly cycle 25 is slowly creeping in, and hopefully things are going to slowly get better. So we have Alan just shared a picture, and I know there is a cloud that passed by like about just before the show started. There was a cloud that passed by, and it almost looked like a snowstorm for like 15 minutes. It actually was strong enough that there was no snow on the ground here. It was strong enough that in 15 minutes, the grass is now white almost everywhere. So it's kind of funny. Kevin Miles, nice to have you here. Should I use coax cable to connect my shortwave receiver from my outside antenna, or would an insulated length be as good? You're better off with a coax for a very simple reason. That coax will shield from the noise inside your home. If it's noisy in your home, you'll be shielding that part of that noise out by using the center connector to your outside antenna and grounding the shield. So by doing that, you'll be able to shield off the noise from inside. So, like here, all the antennas that I have coax cable coming from outside. The antenna's outside, but inside the home here, the coax cables that brings in the signal to make sure that I have the least amount of noise possible coming from my own home, at least. William Conlon, come on, Kitty, don't be shy. Yeah, for a wire antenna, particularly, like Fastload says, for shortwave, I usually just like the longer the better. But you got to wire antennas are good if you live in a low noise environment. Off the Dawn says loves the old school look of the 990. R. Walker, multi-PSK has the worst UI I've ever seen. I was like, how does anyone... Yeah. It's a question of using it all the time. What I've noticed is people that are okay with it are... the people that are okay with it use it all the time. So it's like natural where everything is. But I use it from time to time. And because I don't use it that often, every time I'm on a switch mode, I always search for the mode for 5 minutes before it's like, oh, that button is here. That's where the mode is. Oh, God. Max Setstrong says, without loop antennas, his location would be impossible. Fastload loves his MLA 30, like pretty much everybody, I think. Pretty amazing for the price. What I'm drinking is vodka, 7-Up, and cranberry juice. So I had a few beers last night and didn't feel like having beers. As you see here, I have a line of sun right there on my face. What else do we have? Jeffrey Kropp, nice to have you on board from chilly New Hampshire. It's pretty chilly Montreal too, actually. Chilly from Montreal. What else do we have? Fishkov, do you have a favorite go-to shortwave weather radio for emergency purposes? Go-to shortwave and weather radio. Well, I do have, I have a lot of scanners, so of course, I would say that I don't have a shortwave radio that has NOAA weather included, because I know that some shortwave receivers I've seen a few that have NOAA weather channels, and they have shortwave capability in AM, FM. I don't have one like that. But I do have scanner radios, so I can easily, have a local weather if something for emergency happens, and just have the other, other receivers to listen to medium wave, FM, shortwave, and so on. Cream Brian says it's 9:50 p.m. over there. Here's 3:50 in the afternoon. 3:50 p.m. Yeah, that Moonfest Madness modification on the on the loop, the MLA30. A lot of people have changed the coax that is included with a better quality coax with BNC connector or PL259 connector, and say that they've seen an improvement actually. On Popcom, nice to have you here from South Central Pennsylvania. Happy Friday. VFR Foxtrot, nice to have you here. 73. Where are you located, my friend? Mike Kane, nice to have you on board from Bedford, New Hampshire. Yeah, I thought you took a day off. You're never so early. Christoph Boxdale, you'll buy it on eBay. The MLA30, you'll buy it on eBay. How does it work? I'd say 95% Walbrook. Yeah, I that's where I don't see why people should purchase such an expensive antenna anymore. Max X Strong likes the look of the Texan 990. Randall Kluntz, question. What's the difference between an active and a passive antenna? Well, an active antenna has an electronic component with an amplification circuit. So an active antenna will not only get a signal, it will amplify it to try to make it even better. A passive antenna will sometimes, like for example the AN200, might contain a basic tuning circuit so that you can actually pinpoint a frequency, but it doesn't have anything that will actually amplify it electronically. It just gets the signal, and whatever it gets, it feeds it to the radio. The active one will get the signal, but will also either change that signal, amplify that signal. It has an active part that does something to try to make the signal better electronically. So very often is an amplifier or low noise amplifier. Yonki knows, nice to have you here. Eddie SX says Norway has become the first country in the world to shut down national broadcasts on its FM radio network. From now on, all the state broadcasters' radio program can only be heard via DAB. And did it catch on, Eddie SX? Is everybody there listening through DAB? Did everybody purchase a radio to do so? That's true. Active antennas can amplify the noise. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Alan just sent me a picture. He's enjoying a Coors Light. So, cheers. Nice to have you here watching. Let's check the email to see if anybody signed in. Yeah, that's what I think to Matambale on your email. Okay, so Elizabeth once again saying hello to everybody, enjoying the live feed, and she says that she actually was tuning in to most of the signals that I went through on the 19-meter band. And that she's enjoying following the show, and she asked me the detail on how she can actually help out with a few dollars on PayPal. So I'm going to send you that. I'm going to send you that personally, and of course, anybody that wants to do a little PayPal donation, please do so. So it's nice to have everybody. 110 members now. 110 members. Woohoo! Pretty cool. And what do we have? So here we go. Let's wait for radio questions. So nice to have everybody join the Facebook page. And thanks for the moderators, by the way. I want to thank the moderators of the Facebook page right now that actually are doing a great job at actually adding people to the Facebook group. So 110 people in the Facebook group now. So once again, a great place that I want to have interactive throughout the week when the live shows are not happening. That's where we can all share stuff. I also post there. And post whatever you're listening to Of course, got questions, you can post a question there. And once again, I want it to be a really nice and really cool place to be. What else do we have? Erie PA Dude says, was referring how difficult it is to get audio hardware to work, line in, etc. It isn't that, it isn't that difficult, honestly. But there is one thing that I have noticed, especially, it seems to be the only software, FLDG is the only software affected by one major problem, because other software seem to work. And I've actually encountered that with FLDG a few times. It's you update the audio driver on your computer, and suddenly it starts telling you that it can't use the audio device. That I've encountered, and almost only FLDG has that problem. You'll have a problem with that. You'll go to multi-PSK and it's going to work. So there's some kind of weird way that it actually uses the audio that sometimes it's kind of incompatible. It's very weird. What else do we have? Creep Brian says, it would be pretty crazy if UVB76 would send a message. Is there any other way to donate money? You can donate money. You can send me a postal. For people that don't do electronic stuff, you can actually go and send me an international postal money order. For that, you just write to me at the official Shortwave, or official Shortwave Radio at gmail.com. And I'll give you the details. And you go to your post office, wherever country you are. You do an international postal money order. Because bank checks are kind of so difficult to change here that it's just crazy. Just crazy. So nice to have you on board, Bar. So that could be something. Just write to me at the official Shortwave Radio at gmail.com, and I'll post it. I'll give you the details of where to send the international postal money order. I know a lot of people don't want to do electronic transactions. Yankinos picked up a station on Texan 380, looked it up, said it was radiogram, some sort of code confused. Because there's the shortwave radiogram that does exist, where it's a 30-minute show that has a lot of the most of the broadcast is in MFSK 32 mode. Pagemaster knows the sound of slow scan TV, FT8, and CW. Now I must know the sounds of other digital signals. That's a thing that you will need to actually master from time to time, because by listening in, you'll slowly, I have the ear, for example, on radio teletype. I can almost tell you what speed they're using. But there are some that are so close and so they sound so much alike. It's kind of difficult sometimes to make a difference between like Olivia and MFSK and all of these modes. But it's great fun to tune around. Jim F, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Max S. Strong says my Pulsar LA30 active loop outperforms any long wire location. From 1.8 to 8 megahertz, Pulsar uses 6-inch ferrite bar loop. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. V3KRP, nice to have you on board. Fast Eddie in Thunder Bay, Ontario. The Expeditions, nice to have you on board from cold and sunny Ottawa. Green Brian, anyone else who only uses the built-in antenna for their radio for receiving? A lot of people, honestly. Robert Hickey, we're here on YouTube. And we tune the bands. Zach Leon says, scanner is legendary. Yeah, absolutely. Everything in Canada. There's no restrictions here. There's really, there's one restriction. The only restriction is encrypted communications that are not meant for you. You're not allowed to unencrypt them. But for the rest, there's no real restrictions, honestly. PLF radio. I've seen a few other manufacturers that had NOAA in there. I don't remember off my head because I haven't seen one in a long time. I know the Sea Crane Skywave and Skywave SSB do have NOAA weather, but I've seen others on eBay also that do this. But I haven't seen one in a long time. It's like older models. Bob T, nice to have you on board from Northeast Ohio. We had his first taste of winter this morning. Yeah, we're having our taste of winter right now. I can tell you that. A ghost with a melody. A ghost with melody. I like that. A wailing ghost with melody. There are some digital modes that sound so weird, Max that's strong. I can tell you that. David KJ4CMY has several scanners and HDs that pick up the weather alert. One of them is, I got to say, I do have a CB. I have a 40-channel CB walkie-talkie, TRC 234, I think it is. That does have weather channels on it, for sure. Would not pick up the same signal for months and then started working again. Go figure. Maybe, you know what? Remember that these are kind of basic computers, and these devices decode the same signal. And sometimes you replace a battery or you remove the battery and put new batteries. It kind of resets everything in the radio. Matambali bought an MLA30 off Amazon, $50 with shipping, for his birthday a couple of days ago. Cool. You're going to have a lot of fun, pretty sure. Frank Ixon, nice to have you here. KF5BI, nice to have you here, Frank. FT8 is not decoded by any Android app, unfortunately. Bolin 191. It's experimental, so there's not a lot of apps. You know, I use WSJTX on Windows. Brent sounds like Voice of Nigeria just went off the air. Yeah, I think they were ending at 21 UT was the end time for the broadcast, Brent. Greep Brian says, good old FM probably would leave my home country if they shut it down for good. Matt Sextron was hoping there was an alien. Yeah, happy birthday, Matambali. Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of European signals are thinking of switching, shutting down FM. There's the FCC in the United States. We talked about it at on the International Radio Report last week. The FCC is actually asking in the United States if they should let AM broadcasters go all digital if they wanted to. DRAF. Medium wave skip has been incredible here in Kingston, New York. Received CJWW 600 AM, 8 kilowatt Saskatoon. Really? Wow. Crazy. Surprised that on 600 you didn't hear the Montreal station playing music all the time. The Expedition says, hello, Elizabeth. Ever modify an alarm clock for shortwave? Not really, but funny you bring it up because it brings a memory. I had a alarm clock in 84 that was made by Candle. It was a Candle alarm clock. I don't know if there was, like, they sold in US or anywhere else under that brand, but anyways, Candle is always like the cheap stuff. And I remember that I would actually tune sometimes medium wave distance stations at night on that Candle alarm clock radio. And on some frequencies, I would hear Morse code signals. So there was some kind of shortwave amateur band, or I don't know what, creeping in the medium wave band. So sometimes I tune. Sorry, guys. I tune and hear some Morse code signals everywhere. I was like, what the hell is that? So you'd be, I'd be listening to some distant station and I would hear the over it in the background. And was like, okay, what the hell is that? And I remember back then, my knowledge of radio was very, very small. So I didn't know exactly what was that. And in 84, I had my shortwave radio, so I probably already did kind of think that it must have been from a shortwave signal creeping in the medium wave for some reason. But it does sound creepy, And that radio had kind of a orange-ish display on it that looked creepy when you left it all alone at night, just, in the dark. Take care, Paul Langford. It's nice to have you here. John Pigney says Canada and US have a subscription-based DAB service. Sirius XM, the original pre-merger. XM codec was familiar. Alan Lafferty says his Uniden has weather and for Canada and USA, like NOAA weather, which is it's standard on a lot of scanners and a lot of these devices, honestly. So it's kind of nice to have all of that. The RAF was using a Texan PL 310 ET. Voice of America signing on 11720. Yeah, that's the new BU19 frequency that usually comes in really well here. Yep, really good.
So, like, I don't have bed, I don't have a good place to sleep.
11720.
Muslims, they used to fast, you know? So I was talking to her, like, when you get home, you're going to be, like, fasting because you're going to eat late. So that's not
The Voice of America in English from Greenville, North Carolina. With some music. It's always, I've noticed it almost from day one of the B19 schedules. And 11720, Voice of America, is 21 to 22 UT on 11720 with music right now. So good signal there. The only thing I've heard on that frequency was music. So I think they have just a music program or something. Greg Bryan says, or instead of leaving, we will all broadcast FM pirate stations. The Facebook group is the official SWL channel. It's the same Facebook group as it has the same name as the YouTube channel. It started 3 days ago. And I want it to be a cool place for talking about radio and sharing about radio. Yeah, Moonfest Madness. The audio issue is on very specific hardware. I have one computer here, my HP desktop. The Windows operating system updated the audio driver. I can't have FLDG working anymore now since it's done. I have to roll back the driver to the older version. And of course, Windows being Windows, it always wants to revert back to the new version of the, You know what's worse about DAB, Creep Bryan and everybody, is that they think that they want to they want to they're gonna improve for some reason, you know. They're gonna make people listen more just because it's DAB, which is not the case. Frank Ixon, Hunt Catch, November 6th, 17800 parallel 17825. Male announcer in French with marine weather, female. Yes, it's a special broadcast for the Transat boat race or boat thing. They every year they have the Transat in France, and it's a special broadcast that they're having right now with weather information for marine weather and stuff like that. There's a really special broadcast, temporary special broadcast for the Transat stuff. Fastload. When someone will create a decoding software that will automatically detect and recognize digital HF signals, he's going to be rich. Yeah, that'd be fun to have. Like you just put the software and it's like, oh, that's, Olivia 16500. MFLDG does somewhat. If you set it up right, it recognizes with some of the header some modes that it actually will tell you what that's the mode of that thing, But yeah, it'd be fun to have some easier way of knowing. I've scratched my head so many times sometimes in listening to a mode in a ham bands and just like trying every mode possible before like the 10th mode that you're trying is like, oh, this is that mode. Wow, okay. Of the Dawn, yes, you can pick up shortwave outside the country, absolutely. You probably have a lot of signals. I listened to an SDR, a software-defined receiver that is in Sweden. That is your next door neighbor. And they actually have great shortwave reception there. If you don't have a lot of noise, you have some pretty cool reception, even in Norway, for sure. John Pickney, I have a very briefly produced electrostatically shielded amplified ferrite loop for medium wave called the Space Magnet. Uses a 9-volt battery for power. Wow. Kind of interesting. Never heard such a thing. WOHP1390. Nice to have you here, Rick, in Ohio. W8PRR. Pretty cool in Montreal, too. Slovian, nice to have you here. I'm reading Radio Romania International might be coming of the shortwave bands. Any truth? No, this is an old. You probably heard that quite a while back. So, Radio Romania, there was some talk about going off shortwave, but it was the decision was reversed, and it was like no, we're staying shortwave. But keep in mind one thing, Radio Romania has 2 transmitters right now that are actually not working. One that is supposed to come back in the next week or two, but one that's supposed to come back only early next year. And so not all the frequencies they list are actually on the air right now. John Pickney says there was a time when U.S. Customs was intercepting packages from Radio World in Toronto, looking for scanners that could be receive analog cell signals. I remember seeing a warning from Radio World on their webpage saying that, for example, when I purchased my ICOM ICR 8500, I purchased it from Radio World in Toronto. And I remember when I purchased it, it said that if you were in the United States, because this one is unblocked, it's the unblocked version that I have, and it said that if you were in the U.S. and you were actually, buying this radio, it was at your own risk that it probably would be returned back to Radio World and you would not have it. And they were saying, if that happens, we're going to refund the radio, but we're not going to refund the shipping charges because we have paid for them. So just be warned that that's going to happen. So that means a lot of people in the U.S. were like kind of, and I know there was a radio store I don't think it exists anymore, but there was a radio store in the Atlantic regions of Canada. Was it Nova Scotia, Newfoundland? Where was it? I'm trying to remember where it was. There was a radio store in Atlantic Canada. They would also sell online, and they had the same warning. Look, we're going to ship to the U.S., but you know what? If that radio gets turned back because it's unlocked, I'm just going to tell you one thing here. We're going to refund the money of the radio, but we're not going to refund the shipping charges because we did pay for them anyways. Glenn Zeckman, nice to have you here from Tennessee. Oh, the Dawn says, going digital, dumbest thing ever. Yeah, it's crazy. Dr. Sisop, nice to have you here. Says 93.95, WRMI is jammed. 77.80. Let's try it out. It's at least that's the good thing here. And so 93.95 in Spanish, very strong. Pretty good signal of 77 here. So it seems that it's really mostly affecting the you guys down there. David says, I had a candle radio, was AM, FM, and shortwave. Brings back memories. Daniel Teagarden, nice to have you here. California's making it hard for ham radio op. Cree Brian says, is a CB radio a good way to operate some kind of voice-only radio station? Well, you're not supposed to be a broadcaster on CB radio. It's a two-way communication system. But you're not supposed to hog a CB channel for a radio station. That's for sure. What else do we have? Dr. Sisop says, I wonder if the local FM tower down the road would interfere with 93.95. There are 4 stations on the same tower. What does your interference sound like? Fast load at 11.720, very strong there. Yayuhi, nice to have you here. Yep, Voice of America on 61.95. Let's try it out here with some music. It's coming in S9, almost S9 plus 10. And that one is actually from Africa Transmitter, 6195, with music right now. Comes off of the Sao Tome, 21 to 22 UT. It's the Sao Tome transmitter site in Africa. So we're listening to a signal from Africa on 6195. Not bad of a signal. A little noisy here, but not bad of a signal. Jason Shaughnessy, nice to have you here, my friend, from Ireland. Another Friday evening watching your brilliant show. Nice to have you on board, Emma. She totally thinks you're crazy. Well, she probably is right. Because I think we're all crazy if we do this. Emma, continue thinking we're crazy. No, we're not. We're great people, Emma. It's nice to have you here. Chemex Z1976, 11720, strong in Michigan. R. Walker says digital improves audio quality, but if the stuff on the station is just bad content, it doesn't matter how clear it is. Who would want to listen to Brother Stare in pristine clarity? Brother Stare in HD quality 24 hours a day. Oh man. That would be crazy. Juan amigo, ¿cómo está mi amigo from Barcelona, Spain? Dr. Sisop says DAB will replace HD radio by 2022, as many areas still not use HD due to cost. DAB is lower cost to operate. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. Joey D, nice to have you here, my friend Joey from New Jersey. Pretty cool. So, Juan amigo from Barcelona, Spain. Nice to have you on board. Take care, Simon Templar. It's nice to have you here. Moonfest Madness, 11720. Signal noise ratio of 21 dB. Gree Brian, is it possible to use a so-called RTL SDR if I connect a custom antenna to it? Yeah. Yeah. Just plug whatever you have. Crazy, you know what? Dr. Sisop says DirecTV is ending soon. I look at all the TV dishes and the roofs of homes that people have left there because everybody's moved on to some other way of getting, cable TV now. But there is no, Dr. Sisop, there's already, because what I heard on a 220 megahertz is that 220 megahertz band is still going to exist for ham radio. It's that part of the 220 band was removed several years ago for US. And from what I hear is that is the part used for DAB radio, not the whole 220 megahertz band. Brent says shipping from Radio World is quite expensive. Yeah, but it includes insurance. So, if, for example, if you order a radio and it's broken, well, they got the insurance. That's why the shipping is expensive, because they're protecting themselves. You never know what happens to whatever you order from somewhere. So what they do is that if they send you a $2,000 radio, what's going to happen is that they will put the insurance in there so that if it arrives totally trashed, you just tell them they're going to send you another one because they're getting that radio refunded by Canada Post, for example. That's why it's expensive. So they're protecting themselves, and it makes it easier on you also to get a good service because it's like, yeah, we'll send you another one. No problem, because they have a great service on that. But because of the high shipping charges, that's why it's not a problem. They know they'll get refunded for the price of the device. WA4AOS, nice to have you on board. What antennas do I run outside, Glenn, in South Carolina? So I have right now four antennas outside. My antenna that is unused that I should actually put back into service is 80 feet sloper antenna in the backyard. But my main antennas for my receivers are two loops. One is the W6 LVP loop made in California. And the other one is a Chinese-made MLA30 loop. And these are the main antennas that I use now because of lower noise. So that's pretty much. And I've got a VHF UHF mobile vertical antenna on a metal shed in the backyard. Sheldon Harvey says, I think it was R&S Electronics in Nova Scotia. I think it was Nova Scotia. Yeah. I think that was the name. Because I remember seeing ads, a lot of ads. Wasn't there a... just out of curiosity, anybody, including you, Sheldon, remember for some reason, I have a name that's something like Atlantic Ham and something. Does that ring a bell for anybody? Atlantic Ham and whatever store. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dreaming. So, let's go down, down, down. Try to get a little more in the... I'm 9 minutes behind right now, guys, by the way. Like there's this up, the FCC will review the FM band to extend it from 64 to 108. Yeah, why not? I mean, a lot of radios actually do go down to 64, and some that I've purchased recently. Why not extend? And I mean, here in Montreal, the FM band 88 to 108 is crowded. There's no place for anything yet. You know, there was one proposal for 107.9, and a lot of people just complain about it because here in Montreal, we hear the Burlington VPR station. And I would hate to have a station pop on 107.9 and block Burlington, Vermont, VPR station, which would be sad. David KJ4CMY says, just check Google and found a Candle radio. Oh, man, crazy. John Pickney, my daughter and I went to Radio World a few months ago. They still sell a lot of gear that would be highly illegal in the U.S. Oh, absolutely, because they sell for here in Canada, we don't have restrictions, so they can sell the stuff unlocked. That's why I always purchase from them, because I know that I'll get the unlocked version of whatever radio. That's where I purchased my ICOM ICR20. That's where I purchased the ICOM ICR 8500. Because they have the unlocked versions, and that's what I want. You know, honestly, right now, there's, even if you get the locked version, you don't miss out on anything right now. Even if you have a blocked version, you really don't miss out on anything. But you don't know the future, what's going to be somewhere in those frequency ranges. So I want to have the unlocked version. Why not? Matt says California is not making it hard for ham ops. That turned out to be completely false. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. I haven't heard anything about amateur radio operators in California. Wizard of Oz, nice to have you here. KC9TVN, Aussie. Nice to have you on board from Wyoming. WI is what? Wyoming, I guess. Nice to have you here. Randy in Riverside, California. Nice to have you on board. John Pickney has an HJ radio in his 2018 Toyota 4Runner. Soderworks. That's the kindest thing I can say about it. The problem? That's the thing about HD. HD, if you don't have a good signal, or if you have too much noise, HD is crap. It's like DRM on shortwave. Joey D, how do we sometimes get stations like Voice of America from transmitter sites such as Botswana loud and clear? Is it really just our good antennas, radios, or more on their side of things? It's a mix of all of that together, Joey. It's a mix of they have these transmitter sites in Botswana, Sao Tome. Look at Madagascar Relay. These are amazing sites. What is nice is often they all will actually. So we need to see a map. If you look at a map, maybe I can look. Okay, we're gonna hang on to that question because it's a very interesting question, by the way. I will go fill this up with vodka, 7-Up, and cranberry juice, and I will take a 2-second pause. And by the way, guys, if you like what I do, don't forget you can donate a few pennies and say, "Hey, I'm happy to be here, and I love what you do." And, helps out, helps pay for the equipment and everything. For some reason, I'm still thinking it's a little dark, and I don't know why. But so I'm gonna go fill up this thing with something to drink, and I'm back in exactly 2 seconds. Well, let's say a minute. Okay, guys. I'm back. Yes, I'm back. I am back. And I don't want you guys to be jealous here. But hey, Fastload, if you're still watching the show, I got something for you here. It's yours. I got it today in the mail with 3 other ones. So I got the T-shirt for you. It's large. So hope you enjoy it. So we were talking about getting stations and how come some stations we get better than others. Maybe here could be an example that we'll use. So let me just pop up Edge, and let's world map. Clickable map of the world. Okay, here's a world map. So let me just look at how it is. So just to give you guys an example, I'm located right here. So that's Montreal right here, southern Quebec. So this is the United States right there. Madagascar is that place right here. They broadcast to Africa here. Notice that when you send a signal on shortwave in that direction, it actually extends. When you go to that direction, you see that it extends towards North America. So even though they are broadcasting to Africa, they're sending a signal in our general direction. So if they choose the right frequency, it actually propagates really well up to us. And that's what's happening. So that's why sometimes, for example, I've had a message once. Somebody told me, I don't get Voice of America when it's Greenville, North Carolina, and it's in the United States, but I'm getting it from Botswana. Yeah, Botswana is down here. And if they broadcast, for example, to West Africa, in that direction, they're kind of sending a signal in a vicinity of North America. So once again, if you choose the right frequency, it's going to propagate it. There's no physical border for a signal. So it's going to propagate to us. And they often use a lot of power, 250 kilowatts and so on. So it usually reaches us. And that's why we hear these signals. And of course, frequency is important. General direction of the signal where it's sent to. And of course, you're listening. So your own radio antennas also improve. So, Gree Brian says, time to listen to UVB 76. Let me try it. See if I can hear it. Right now. Whoops. Remove the map. Imagine if I randomly put 4625 and get some kind of porn on the YouTube or on the internet. Sorry. Yeah. Not hearing UVB 76 on 4625 at all right now. Moonfest Madness just joined the Facebook page. Cool. What else do we have? Brent says, good point, Jill, on the insurance with the shipping from Radio World. Yeah, and that's why it's expensive, honestly. Oh, really? Howard Stern is ending its, I guess, its partnership with Sirius XM. Kind of, I mean, I remember when, because when Sirius and XM were both separate, it was a big deal. It was a really, really big deal that Howard Stern was there. I remember that. It was a huge deal that Howard Stern would be there. GFB Global, nice to have you here. Today's figures, nice to have you on board. John Pickney, there's a lot of unlisted packet links on the 222 megahertz band. That's what killed 220.22 for hams. Links used to be there, but since not for public use, the FCC assumed no use. Yeah. Mickey Delmage, nice to have you on board with the strength of VOA. I would almost think it's via Botswana, not Sao Tome. Yeah, well, according to EIBI space, because I'm using reference from EIBI. 6195 at 21 to 22. 20 to 21 is from Botswana, and 21 to 22 is from Sao Tome, and it's to West Africa, which would, yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's more of an upward positioning. David Anderson, nice to have you here. Just recently got my ham radio license technical. Just gonna check the camera here because I'm kicking the camera around. Technician's license. Do you find much activity on the bands? When I showed up for my test, only 2 others were there. Wanted to get your thoughts on the future of amateur radio. One thing for sure, there's not a lot of people there when you talk about amateur radio bands and activity. There's some stuff there, older amps, but when you go to ham meetings, of course, once again, you see older people. And what happens is when you do that and you go past your test, there's not that many people actually around. For that. Actually, there was an article that I read about in the UK. They're looking for a way. To really get people back. The young generation. They want to have the young generation. It's a difficult task, honestly. It's a difficult task. But all that said, there's still, I think there's the recent numbers show that there's never been so many hams registered. It's just that it's like a YouTube channel. You have 18,000 subscribers, but you've got 147 people watching live a show. Not everybody is necessarily active and working. Brent, all things being equal, could the MLA30 replace all their antennas for shortwave DXing? Not necessarily. Because if you're in a low noise, the good old long wire will always be the antenna to go. It costs almost nothing. And I think it's still going to be the dominant antenna. But the MLA30, for the price that it is, actually, for people in the people for that are looking for a way to remove part of the noise, maybe are going to go to the MLA30 for that purpose. Once again, these are not miracle antennas, but they are darn good antennas that often lower noise and bring you a little more signals. Dark Noise NL, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Like there's this, I've got my ICOM 7300 unlocked from Germany. Fastload says, I'm still shy to speak up on HF. It is still some kind of clan on there. Yeah, I would not go to... honestly, Fastload, my way of using ham radio is not to talk to... I would not go on any... honestly... I'll tell you one thing. There's, you probably heard them. There's a gang of francophone Quebecois on 3765. The more I listen to them, and the more I hate the way that they, they just think that they're like they're the greatest in the world or something. It's just like, who the hell are you thinking? These are the people that are actually pushing away some new hams, actually, to the hobby. I mean, I listen to them at night, and sometimes like, wow, I just want to, you're an idiot. I remember once listening to one of the guys lives in a farm. And I remember the guy saying, oh, well, those people in Montreal, they're just all idiots. And you're like, wow, really? You just said that on the airwaves. And I'm in Montreal, and I'm listening to you guys on 3765. And I'm in the middle of Montreal. Well, you know what? I'm starting to think you guys are idiots now. It's like, I don't get it. And you know what? If my use of ham radio, honestly, the day I get my license, the use of ham radio I'll have is to try to have contacts with people from as many countries as possible. I am zero interested in having contacts with local hams. I am zero interested in going in those nets that, people go to all the time. I would be the guy that would always call DX, CQDX, and try to contact as many countries. That's my interest. I have no interest in talking to local hams. More and more, I listen to local hams, and I'm like, yeah, really, please, okay? Hardwalker says, what happened was California said that ham repeaters were no longer going to get free rent at places, and hams got upset. Yeah, well, there are all sorts of rules and stuff that could happen. That's for sure. Always, never think ham radio is the number one spot. Ham radio is secondary and is not very important for a lot of, for governments and stuff. Hey, Paul P., nice to have you here from UK. Is anyone really looking for people doing illegal stuff on shortwave? Not really, unless they get they interfere with something and they get a complaint. Not really. Are there a Morse code reader that is reasonably priced? Mark Ledford. Well, most big free software do decode Morse code. Okay? So, the thing is, it's kind of interesting to see that, there are some paid software that are actually better, but you can use FLDG, or you can use ham radio. You can use a multi-PSK and decode Morse code with it, and it's free. Joey D's getting a coffee. Moonfest man is like every station at the moment is China International. Oh man. Brent, any suggestions on resources to study for the Canadian ham radio license? You know what? Go online. Look on the on the internet. Honestly, there are some guides, but most people, what they do. You can get Brent the questions and answer book, because it's a multiple question exam. And you can get the questions and answer book, and every question in there, they take off the questions I'm going to ask you are within that book, and that book gives you the question and the answer. And you know what? I think a lot of people just learn by heart, and that's why, honestly, I see a lot of ham radio operators that have such poor knowledge of radio in general. I can tell you one thing. I listen to the 2-meter band sometimes, and I'm like, wow, I have a million times more knowledge than a really, really big chunk of the 2-meter hams that I listen locally here. I can tell you that. So you happy, Fast Load? What else do we have? PLF radio has KBS in French on 3955 in the UK. Where's Paul? John Pigney. Well, he asked me for food while I was actually filling up my my glass. But he hasn't come here. He just took food and went back to sleep in his favorite position. Fastla, what about a meeting in person tonight? It's going to be a little complicated. Someone's going to be mad if I do that, so I'd rather not. Lee Burkett, nice to have you on board. But we'll find a way, Fastla, for you to have your shirt. Lee Burkett, the weather in the UK is pretty bad, so I can't take my scanner anywhere. So using it from home right now. Yeah, the R71A, it hasn't been serviced by ICOM for a while, honestly. For a while. Cree Brian, actually they are paid by these big broadcasters. A lot of the relay stations were actually created by major broadcasters over the years. It's like the BBC relay station in Ascension Islands was entirely paid by the BBC. So a lot of these relays were paid by major broadcasters and not by the African countries themselves in general. Tony Sierna, you missed this summer already. Today, our first taste of wind chill here in the Delaware Valley around Philly. Yeah, pretty much the same here. Lots of wind and kind of cold today. Sluvian says, thanks for confirming the information about Radio Romania. Recently purchased an XH Data D808 from Amazon at limited time offer. £60, and I'm enjoying learning to tune the bands on it. Cool. Cool. Nice to have you here, and this is a great place to be. So don't hesitate. What else do we have? Radio for Peace International. Hello there. Are you the real Radio for Peace that we have on WRMI lately? Pretty cool. John Pickney says, last Saturday, the Churchill County Nevada Ham Club group had a dozen people from kids up taking tests. This is very rural Nevada, wide age range. Cool. Well, that's nice to hear. That's really nice to hear. KMXZ76 says, does anyone know if SDR console has a problem with tuning FM lately? I can tune FM weather fine, but FM sounds like a garbled mess. That's because, KMXZ, you need to put it in wideband FM. FM weather is in narrow band FM. You need to put the filter wider. FM broadcast is wide FM. So it's because your filter is still too narrow. You're using the same filter you're using on the FM weather. You need to actually have it wider. It's wide FM for broadcasts. Sheldon Harvey says Stern's contract is expiring, but to my knowledge, he hasn't announced that he's doing what he's doing yet. So, okay, interesting. Fast load 3958. Hams on 3958, quite strong. John Pickney, unless paid religion, commercial shortwave is really tough go. Yeah, commercial shortwave is not you cannot monetize shortwave. It's so many people have tried over the years. You really can't monetize shortwave, pretty much. Yeah, David Martin, 7200 is really a jungle, and there's so much, thing happening there. Our Walker, been listening to the ham bands for months, and that's what turned me off from becoming a ham, to be honest. It's full of a lot of people like you described. But that's not the way you should think about it, our Walker. You should think about it the way that I think about it. I know that I would be bored going on 2 meters and talking to hams. That would not be my fun. For me, okay, I want to do that. Let's get back again on the CB radio and do that. Okay, that's not what I wanted. What I want of ham radio, and some people are okay with that, and some people that's what they want. They actually go on the ham bands and go to nets every night. Listen to a net on 2 meters every night, and you hear the same people over and over that you almost never hear anywhere else. But they're like, oh, yeah, this is Helen. I'm in blah, blah, blah. Well, the weather's fine today, and it's really nice to be on the net with everybody. It's like, yeah, yawn. This is the worst thing that I've ever seen. Come on. That's amateur radio? Please. But that's my take on it. And they're happy with that, so it's okay. And I have no problem that exists, and it's fine. I have no problem, because we got to be honest also in another thing. We can't make ham radio tough to go to, because if it's too difficult, nobody will go there. Nobody will be hams. We'll have a handful of experts that are going to be hams, but they're going to talk to each other because there's not a lot of people. My use of ham radio, and that's where I'm interested. If you are a DXer, that's what I am. What I like is searching for signals, weak signals from whatever country or around the world. Well, that's where amateur radio could be interesting, even if you don't talk to local hams. Doesn't matter. Be a DXer. Be one of those hams that I want to have my signal and try to contact as many, if not all, the countries around the world. I want to try to talk. I would be the one searching for African hams that I can talk to, just to have a contact, or European hams. Yeah, sometimes I would chit chat because I'm a big mouth. I talk all the time, but I would be the kind of guy that wants to talk to different countries around the world. So, just answering somebody here. Okay, sorry. I had to answer a message. So, anyways, I would be take that hobby to that level. Amateur radio. Don't be turned off to be a ham because of a specific item in AM radio. Because if you listen to the bands and love what you are listening to, take an example of what you like. What I like is listening to the world. What I like is receiving exotic places. Well, my ham radio activity would be talking with fast load on 2 meters and talking to the world. DXing. That's what I want. I have no real big interest in having local conversations with that about the weather and today I took my cat to the vet and there's supposed to be snow next week. I don't want to have that chit chat. I don't care about that type of chit chat. It's fun if you like to use radio for that type of chit chat, because that's what you like. It's okay. I got no problem with that. But find that spot of amateur radio that you like. And you know what? I read, because one of the things that's interesting about what we were talking about, Fastload saying that he's a little shy talking. What also is interesting is today you don't have to talk. If you want to do contacts and contact somebody else, you can do it via digital modes today. You don't have to even use your voice. You use a software, you use a computer, and you contact using these, the computer and the software stuff. Take care, Neil Toombs. It was nice to have you on board. John Pickney says, I'm a senior citizen and I listen more to the tunes on my USB drive in the car than the radio. Yeah, a lot of people do that, actually. William Conlon, do you do CW? I actually, if it's very, very slow, I can kind of make, tell you what it is somewhat. Matambali, think of 3840 as a vortex that draws in the worst of ham radio. Yeah. When I hear 7200 and frequencies like that, it's like the good old days of CB when there was idiots everywhere trying to block you. Page Master downloaded the question pool and study from that, but go to a website called Ham Study. So that's another example. You broadcast shows also on Facebook and Twitter. Well, actually, I just broadcast here, but I have the Facebook group and I have a Twitter feed. So at Shortwave Radios, and Facebook group is official SWL channel. So it's kind of interesting here. David Martin, 0.23% of U.S. population has active amateur radio license per current FCC counts. Probably less because many are deceased. Licenses last 10 years before renewal required. Interesting. Take care, PLF Radio. À la semaine prochaine. À la semaine prochaine. Mickey Dalmage, send a picture, an email. Good old email. Oh, man. He just sent a picture of his candle receiver. Oh, look at that. You know. Good looking radio. So this is his candle receiver. He just sent a picture of Mickey. Kind of cool. So, candle. Oh, absolutely, Matambali. We need to, we are policing ourselves. We are self-ruling everything, you know. We need to, it's like here. I mean, look at the chat room. Nice chat room. We have a certain order of things and a certain way of being polite and correct. Johnny DXer, nice to have you on board. And the Sultans of Shortwave. W3JMC. Take care, Gree Brian. Nice to have you here. So, yeah, from WRMI, I heard your broadcast, Radio for Peace International, in WRMI. Absolutely. John Pickney says Transworld Radio is the most successful commercial shortwave broadcaster. But the problem is, you know what? The problem is that they were not a commercial shortwave broadcaster. They were bringing in money, but the money from these religious broadcasters comes from many other sources to pay for the shortwave side of the broadcasting. You know, look at HCJB. I remember HCJB back in the 80s sending me that QSL card and all sorts of beautiful things, but also including that, oh, by the way, you know, we're helping children here in Ecuador, and you could help us by giving a donation. So there was some part of money that was probably going back to HCJB with people. There were probably some people out there that were paying for that. You know, I never sent in a donation, but some people probably did. And some did probably very generously too. DRAF, a power supply for the MLA30. I don't have one, so what should I buy specifically? And where would be a good place to obtain it? I got to tell you, DRAF, I want to try something. They have here at the dollar store imitations of the Apple power supply. I would try that, but they're very, very standard. If you use a standard 5 volt, you can use a power supply and use that USB cable and just supply from a standard, charger for a phone. The only thing that you would need, DRAF, is a good one, good quality one, probably not to induce any noise in the antenna. But even around you, there might be tons of places where you can buy one for not very expensive, actually. Terry Cook, nice to have you here. Paul Anson, W6XA in Tucker, Georgia, has a good reputation for repairing ICOM radios. So that's interesting. That's interesting to know when you have resources of where you could actually have older radios repaired in case of problems. I still remember the first time my Kenwood 5000 had a problem. There's a old guy fixing radios and TVs that's been not far from here. I mean, the guy's been there for 40 years. And I remember I brought my Kenwood 5000. I entered. I said, "Do you fix these?" He looked at the radio and he said, "I ain't touching that." R. Walker says, the most interesting thing I've heard on ham radio on shortwave was a guy helping his Japanese girl, this Japanese girl English. So both she and her dad were hams. Cool. Lee Burkett says, I was expecting my PSX hack stick today from eBay, and I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to order my Texan PL 600 as well. I think there may be a delay in our post in the UK. Yeah, but you know what? It depends on a lot of things. Sometimes packages are stopped by the customs. That takes a lot of time when that happens, actually. Yeah, we did have one on we had one on the GPRS the other day. Absolutely. Why do a ham license when you actually use an FRS or a GMRS to do a contact? Oh, God. Matt says it's funny because the jerk in Finland basically says there's no legitimate emergency ham radio ops. He posted a whole video trying to claim that there's no legitimate use there. Yeah. It just tells you, Unfortunately, what's sad is that people like that are the people that are drawing away people that want to come into a hobby. That guy joined many Facebook groups, and I don't see him anymore because, every time somebody posted a question, he made that person feel bad. Yeah, great way of helping in the hobby. Somebody posts a question, and you act like you know everything and that he's stupid. Congratulations, you're really, really a great guy. Come on. You don't know it, you don't know it. David Martin says there are some good hams and good conversations out there on 80-40-20 with good technical discussions. Just have to filter out. You got to filter out, absolutely. I don't know how many time I have listened to like for an hour or two to conversations of hams that were really, really interesting and technical and really, really cool, Of course, you got to filter out. How do you... Let me just check it out here. FLDG. So, you are saying, how do you increase the size of the waterfall on FLDG? So, you mean what's at the bottom here? Good question. So, when you go to the separation, there's no double arrow. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I don't know. You know what? I need to check that out and maybe do a few videos about it. Because, yeah, you are right if you are wondering that it's very small. It is very small. Absolutely. It doesn't take a lot of space compared to other software. John Pickney says, a hamway also becomes sought after in a pileup of the most obtuse for reasons. When I had a WD4 call, I automatically gained 3 to 5 S units during the CQWPX contest. Kimberly, California. Nice to have you here, my friend. And walking home listening. Aha. Shitty Pyro 90. Nice to have you here. Radiocom says all you receive is 5.9 and weather. Ham radio can become a bore. And I've got worked all continents on QRZ. I prefer shortwave any day. But remember, it's easy to say that. But remember, ham radio, like shortwave radio, is what you do and what you are all about. Just look at shortwave listening. It could be easy to just fall into a boredom of, well, there's noise and there's nothing. Yet, there's a guy from Canada that decided to do a live show on YouTube that get tons of people watching because suddenly there's a twist to the hobby. We are a gang of people that love the hobby, and no matter how noisy it is now compared to 30 years ago, well, we all turn out and talk about radio and have fun with it. Why? Because somebody decided to give a twist to the hobby, something that was not there before. Nobody was doing a live show talking about shortwave. No one. Suddenly there's this guy that decides, hey, we do live streams. Now we got 2 live streams a week. So, the hobby of shortwave, of amateur radio, is what you do with it. So, one of the things you got to think is, if the hobby is boring, what's missing? And if the hobby is boring, what could you do to make it better? Because you're a ham, well, then there's things you can do to make it better. I'm a shortwave listener. I did what to make it better? I decided, let's try something like this. And you know what? I'm sure that a lot of you guys listen more to shortwave since this is happening. I'm sure that a lot of you guys are even, so many people wrote to me just telling me, you know what? I am back into the hobby because of you. I watched one of your live shows and it suddenly turned me on again to the radio hobby. I thought it was something, let's learn something new, I don't know. And then they see a live show one day and they're like, wow, tons of people there and still listening, and wow, I'm going to take that radio off of the, in the garage or the basement and dust it off and turn it on again, which is kind of cool, ChemXZ 1976 says, using SDR console on a remote laptop from my desktop, I apparently had my bandwidth set too low. That's why I couldn't tune broadcast FM. Once I increase the bandwidth, then FM works now. Yeah, because there's one difference in FM is that everything, almost everywhere, is narrow band FM, but the FM band is a wide band FM. Jeff Barrett, nice to have you here. Yep, absolutely, fast load. GIL Jutin International. Some were actually branded Jutin. Wow. Cuban Lady on 10715. Let's see if her sexy number voice. Her sexy number voice. Yeah, it's coming in. Let's try both antennas here. I'm going to switch between MLA 30 and... It's actually better on the MLA 30 than it is on my W6 LVP. 6. So 10715. Bobby Burgess, I wouldn't buy a QRFX radio you see in dollar or discount stores. They are the cheapest of everything, I can tell you that. So 10715 is very, very strong here. No, you should have something, fast load, come on. Anton Belly has Honolulu Fox KVM 70 on 16135. Wow. David says that's like the candle receiver I grew up with. Aha. Jean-Marc Letts, nice to have you on board. What kind of antennas could you be using at your QTH after using my ham license? I don't know yet. I'm a big fan of trying to make something myself. So, but I don't know yet. The sloper I have in the backyard, is designed for transmit. The 9-to-1 ballon and everything in it is designed for transmit capabilities also. I don't know. I'll be checking out what I could do. John Pickney, ever get a QSL rejection letter from Transworld Radio? It was obvious that TSL was what they were looking for. I remember being bummed out so many times by going, sending for a QSL card and being turned back down saying, oh, sorry, but you didn't write the date of the reception, so we can't really honor your QSL card. And you're like, yeah, go to hell, Come on, please. I'm sure I put it down. I remember after each CJB shut down, 6050, it's still up. The only frequency left from Ecuador. I sent in a reception report for one of the broadcasts, only to have back, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, but we don't QSL on shows that are not made by HCJB. What? I'm just letting you know I'm hearing your station. Come on, what is that weird answer back? Just crazy. William Conlon left to go to Canada. Just can't say where. Maybe Ottawa. Ottawa is the most boring city in Canada, actually. That's not where you go when you go to Canada. Bolin 191, where do number stations be? What mode? Different modes. A lot of them are AM. Some are in single sideband. Some are in some weird digital modes. And it can show up almost anywhere. Actually, you know what? Fast load on 80 meters, yes, but not on rack chewing is not the norm for people that use the higher bands. Listen to 20 meters and you'll see it's not rack chewing. 20 meters is I want to DX the world. 15 meters, I want to DX the world. Even 40 meters, somewhat. 40 meters gets closer to 80 meters, which is much more of a rack chewing band. But the higher bands are where you want to be. David Martin says, the only dumb questions are the ones people don't want to answer. It's crazy. Yeah, time spent listening. Yeah. Oh, man, Man Radio DXer, nice to have you here. Absolutely. Shortwave is for all. Like, you know what? Amateur radio is also for all, not just a technical genius. That also we got to accept. Okay? The way I talked about it is I don't care about going on a net to be just, talking about the weather. But I'm okay with the fact that we have hams and that that's what they do. John Pickney, my father used to get a good laugh when I was called an Elmer. By hams I've helped. Why? It was his first name, and he made me swear to never name a son of mine Elmer. Oh, man. Our Walker, shortwave listening is amazing because of so many aspects to it. Absolutely. Like there's so many aspects on amateur radio. Voice of Greece, distant signal on 9420. Let's check it out. Yeah, really good. Man, that is like a local signal. I have the impression of listening to some station next door. G Barito 7, nice to have you here. Fastlot says, it needs usual to make it better. Get your bloody license. Yeah, I know. I have to. David in Barcelona, nice to have you here, my friend. Page Master, somebody actually, it reminds me of a interesting comment I had last week. Somebody sent me an email, and you know what? That person said, Joel, I'm afraid of one thing if you get your ham license. That you'll never be the shortwave listener that I see in the live shows. And that you're not going to be as active in shortwave listening. And I'm scared of that. And I'd rather you not have your ham license and you stay where like you are. And I answered back and I said, no, don't worry. Even if I get my ham license, I know I'll be listening a lot more. But I'll be adding amateur radio to what I'm doing, So, don't worry about it. If I get my ham license, this is still going to exist, and shortwave listening is still going to be a thing for me. It's just, don't worry about it, That's for sure. I'm going to still be the shortwave listener that I've always been. Matambali is at 5 decades now. So how does it feel to be an old geezer like me, 50 years old? Oh, man. Actually, in my head, I always joke to everybody. I always say, you know what? In my head, I still don't have the legal age to drink. Matt says, Behavior 9, WBCQ 7490. One good thing about the short day months is being able to copy this broadcast. Yeah. It's a difficult... I really, really, really have a lot of difficulty getting WBCQ here. Radio was nice to have you here. There's a lot of negativity in all things in life, like radio hobby. Surround yourself with positivity and positive people, and be curious. Search out, explore, make yourself happy, live your life. Et voila, that's a great explanation. You can focus on the negative side of any hobby. We can focus on noise. I see a lot of people focus on Brother Stare. And you know what? Instead of focusing on that, why don't you focus on what is not Brother Stare on shortwave? Some people are annoyed at China radio everywhere. Why don't you focus on something else? Because there's other signals out there. There's actually, on the shortwave bands, if you are, equipped decently and have not too much noise, there's way more stuff on shortwave than there is Brother Stare stuff. There's way more stuff on shortwave than there is China radio stuff. But we are like we are, and we tend to focus on certain stuff, certain things all the time, Jose Manuel Navarro, nice to have you on board from Cordoba, Spain. Buenas noches, mi amigo. Nice to have you here. Matt says, I don't remember exactly how I found this channel. I think it was through the chat at the Shortwave blog, because there was the chat used to be. I remember being confused by the one-way conversations. RFDXer, nice to have you here from East Central Pennsylvania. John Pickney, which are you more likely to meet at a cocktail party in Ottawa? A Canadian astronaut or a Canadian spy? I don't know, John. RFDXer, no beer today. I'm having a vodka, 7-Up, and cranberry juice drink. What's the radio behind me? The big one. You're talking about this. This is the Ethon S350DL. If you're talking about this, that I need to turn on is the Yaesu FT450 transceiver. If you're talking about, let me just look on my field of view here. This here, this is the Grundig S450 DLX, and in front of it is the Degen DE1106 crappy radio for the price that I paid for. Oh, man. Madrid DXer is using lead acid battery for his Wahlberg antenna because using a wall plug is noisy. John Pickney is the Marc Garneau generation. So you just turned 60, Matambali? Man, no. You're not old. You're not old at all. What else do we have? Let's go down and try. Hey, I'm almost down the chat now. I am down the chat. and almost. Lee Burkett says, I caught a few of them Christian broadcasts myself. I quite like Brother Stair and the other Vrokemer channel. What else do we have? Sheldon Harvey, Ottawa. I spent a month there one weekend. If I had a choice of a city in Canada to go to, Ottawa is not one of them. I can tell you that. I refuse to grow up too, Matambali, so we are kids. I'm a kid doing a YouTube show and drinking alcohol. Please don't call the cops that I'm not aged enough to drink alcohol. Oh, man. Actually, Rob says, indeed, our true age is our attitude, not really our chronological age. Honestly, except for maturity over years, because you do dumb stuff when you're young and you learn from a lot of experiences. In my head, somehow, it just isn't following the age that my body is going to. So in my head, I'm not 50, and I still do, stupid things with my 25-year-old nephew. And sometimes look at myself and say, yeah, you're really 50-year-old, man. You're doing dumb stuff. So, Mad Reader DXer, Snap-on ferrets don't do much for me either. When there is noise, and that's it. Yeah, I've tried that a lot. I've tried all sorts of ferrets of all sorts and toriid cores of all sorts. And I got to say, often when I had noise coming in, it didn't do anything for me either. DRAF in the late 60s, mid 70s, I remember hams doing ship-to-shore relays with US and destroyers, connecting service. There was a lot of stuff happening in the radio hobby that isn't there anymore because of changes in the way that everything is happening, And I've also heard so many cool stuff in the past, honestly. LN321 from Norway is drunk. Oh no. There's a drunk guy in Norway. I'm not drunk, but I'm a little tipsy. I'll say I'm a little tipsy. I don't put a lot of vodka in it, so I'm a little tipsy. Oh God, would you rather go to Ottawa or Hamilton? I have no experience as to Hamilton, so I'd go to Hamilton because I don't know the city. Over Ottawa. Then maybe I'd have a choice and say, well, okay, I'll go to Ottawa. Yeah, it's just Madam Bally that Ottawa, there's not a lot of things happening in Ottawa. Especially for a guy that comes from a big city like Montreal, it's like, you go to Ottawa and you're like, there's a good thing about Ottawa. If you like museums, okay, you'll have fun. You'll have a million museums there. But once you've gone through all the museums, you're just going to say, well, I'm not going to Ottawa again, okay? I was about to make a bad joke. What's so bad about Ottawa? Our prime ministers are there. Stephen Hayes, nice to have you on board and just joined the Facebook page. G0STE in London. Nice. John Pickney says Ottawa is better than Edmonton. Oh, okay. Maybe I should keep that in mind. John Pickney says my grandfather used to say he was still doing dumb stuff at age 89. Probably. I think we all do. I mean, I'd rather have somebody that says, I still do dumb stuff at 50 or 60 than somebody that's just so straight and so boring in life, Matt says, I have to go get my other kid now, so should be back 2300-ish. So we'll I guess we might be here again. Actually, I'm going to ask that famous question I ask in every show. Should I go fill up my glass with vodka, and cranberry juice, and continue. Is NL321, you're drunk, DROJNK. Is that the Norwegian way of saying I'm drunk? Oh, man. Jean-Marc Let's, back in the 1980s, the only ham QSL I have ever asked for and quickly got by mail was from a French ham living in French Guiana who was working mostly U.S. hams and giving his name and Cayenne P.O. box. Wow, cool. That is cool. That is cool. Bill Mead, Ottawa or Winnipeg or Saskatoon? Okay, yeah. A friend of mine comes from Saskatoon, and he goes back there to actually see his sister from time to time. No, Regina. He's in Regina. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. We're talking about Regina now. And he always tells me how he's happy to come back to Montreal after he spent a week in Regina. Oh, God. Matambali. Some towns roll up the sidewalks at sunset. Oh, I like that. Oh, God. Oh, David in Barcelona says to Mad Radio DXer, definitely get an MLA 30. So, you know what? Wow, this is... Oops, I'm on 940. 9420. You need to be on 9420. It's definitely weaker now for 9420. There's like no audio on it. CHML 900 Hamilton is strong here into eastern Pennsylvania. What do I hear right now on 900?
No, he says it's not a bad report.
The unemployment rate held steady at close to a multi-decade low, and wage growth continued to be firm. So overall, still pointing to a pretty healthy labor market.
Hamilton's unemployment rate.
It's actually coming in quite well here too, RFDXer. 900 kilohertz Hamilton, medium wave. Our Yellowknife for the win. It's got a cool name. Yellowknife. I'm out wearing my Yellowknife tonight. Radio for Peace, International French Station. Oh, man. RFDXer says MLA 30 arrived in the mail yesterday. Surprisingly, it came in a small bubble wrap padded envelope. Yeah, it came in. Mine came in a. Yeah, I think it came in an envelope too. I think. Mickey Dalmich says, I've been to all and more of these Canadian cities mentioned. There is something in all of them to love. I think every city has something, of course. But, okay, you've been through a lot of Canada, Mickey. If you had a city that you'd tell somebody, okay, if you have in Canada to go somewhere, is there a city you would say, go there? Because you're going to have a lot of fun. Out of curiosity, Mickey. Is there a city that, I don't know, you fell in love with? I'm curious about that. I mean, I haven't visited a lot of Canada. I visited, New Brunswick. I've visited Ontario, and that's it. Pretty much. Of course, with Quebec, but I'd like to go west. I'd like to go up to Vancouver once. I'd like to see Vancouver. John Pinkney says, one afternoon driving home from work, I was talking on 20 with a guy in Florida. A ham in the Ivory Coast missionary broke into the QSO saying the traffic noise made him homesick. Oh, man. That's kind of cool. Yeah, because the Walbrook and the W6 LVP are very close, and I've seen many, many, many reports, honestly, as you guys are talking about that, David and Mad Radio DXer. And I can tell you that the MLA30 is so close. I can't tell people to buy. Joe Gomez, nice to have you here from San Diego, and it's not boring. There's already one, by the way, Joe Gomez. If you look on the channel and search, just type LSB USB, and you'll probably find it's several years old. But I do have a upper-lower sideband video already explaining that. Current Patch DX loves Winnipeg and Manitoba. Great for field day types. Okay, they might be great for really, really long antennas. Rob says, when I search YouTube for my first shortwave radio, your 2016 video comes up. Tuning tips for shortwave radio for the beginner. Oh, wow. Wow. John Pickney one morning at WJMS, our all-night jock. Mispronounced Regina on the air. Yeah, I won't say the word on the air, but I always joke to my friend, oh, you come from V. Put the V instead of the R, and it's like he always gets you come from there, which is kind of true anyway. Man. Jeff Barrett says, been to Saskatoon for work. I love traveling to Canada. I just red-eyed back from San Diego this morning. Had a hotel with a balcony, but the shortwave listening was awful. Interference. PageMaster has N7G from Lake Havasu City on 14284. John Pigney's CHML always has a great signal everywhere, even when they were 5 kilowatts. Cool. Mad Radio DXer says, David told me to get an MLA30, so I've just bought one. Yes, you need to. I want to see that compare. I want to see you compare the Walbrook with it. Absolutely. I've compared it with the W6 LVP. It will be the same type of comparing antennas. Hey, William Helms, nice to have you on board. From Florida. DRF CHML Blowtorch in New York. Sheldon Harvey, Winnipeg, where the men are men and the moose are nervous. Oh, good. Larry Weaver, nice to have you here. When you get your ham ticket, you could always hold an official shortwave net. That's an idea. That's absolutely an idea. An official shortwave net where we talk about technical stuff. Maybe it could be a kind of a mix, a live stream of a net. That could be cool. HP, nice to have you here. Enjoying the show. Cool. RDXer says, I would often hear CKBI 900 in Prince Albert's Saskatchewan from Colorado. Wow. Brian Penny, I'm partial to Greenfield Park and the back deck of an undisclosed location. Yeah, there's something special going on there. Some kind of CIDX-ish barbecue sometimes. Oh, God. David Martin, 14284. Let's see if I can hear 14284 here. I'm waiting for someone to say, well, Montreal, because there's this really cool shortwave guy there. Gilles, what was the biggest kilowatt transmitter ever to broadcast on shortwave ever? What was the powerhouse of shortwave? Well, Sheldon might be good in actually checking that out. I know that the big stations, a lot of the big stations at 500 kilowatts. I know that in the medium wave band, there are megawatt stations. That's 1,000 kilowatts. I would just love to see a transmitter with a million watts. Imagine a million watts, man. Wow. Imagine how much heat that transmitter must generate. The strongest transmitters on shortwave were, I think, 500 kilowatts. I don't know, Sheldon, any shortwave transmitter over the years was more than that on shortwave bands? I mean, radiated power. Okay, let's be fair. The HARP experiments in Alaska do have radiated power megawatt, million watts of transmitting power, technically. But in general shortwave broadcasting, I think 500 kilowatts was pretty much tops. Take care, Jerry DX. Matambali as Trenton Military Vomit, 15034. Steve, why advertise YouTube on my shirt? Because YouTube is my paycheck. Why not? And it's got the official Shortwave channel on it. And that's where I live, and that's where I do stuff. So why not? Mika Dalmich says St. John's, Newfoundland for the bar scene. Okay. Halifax for the harbor. Ottawa for culture. Montreal for Chateau Harvey. Winnipeg for hot summers. Regina for football. Vancouver for the ocean. Alberta for the Rockies. I like that. I like that. So I need to do all of that. I need to do all of that. Hey, Daniela. Nice to have you here. There's a Flat Earth convention in Brazil this weekend. Will Alan Wiener attend? I like that. And we are live from the Flat Earth. Yeah, I don't think I've never heard of a shortwave broadcaster above 500 kilowatts. I don't recall any shortwave broadcaster above 500 kilowatts. Medium wave had megawatt stations, but not shortwave. Shortwave was 500 kilowatts, and there's still a few out there in 500 kilowatts actually. John Pickney, 500 kilowatts is about the max practical for HF on medium wave. There's a 2,000 kilowatt in Saudi Arabia. We have the XR 1467 Monaco transmitter TWR, 1,000 kilowatts. Yeah. Well, I don't agree with that, Steve. We absolutely do, Sheldon. I would love that. Field trip to Don in Lamont, Alberta. Absolutely. If you ever do something like that, you got to tell me in advance. I'm going to really make sure that we can actually do that and go there. I would absolutely love that. It's something we need to do. Hey, Mad Boy. Nice to have you here. Yeah, I've seen somebody talk about changing the gain adjustments in the MLA30 that I don't know if they are, I don't know. Yeah, Walbrooks and W6LVP loops are very expensive. So, hey guys, we're at 2 hours and 48 minutes. Should I refill this and continue? Do you guys want me to continue? I need to know if I stop or continue. DRAF, WGEA, and WGEO were both 100,000 ways shortwave. 100,000 watts, yeah. I like the, I feel like it's like, asking people to just go on their knees and, take care, Sheldon. And, stay quiet this weekend. I'll handle the show on Sunday morning on the International Radar Report. Take it easy. Have a great evening. Hi, Brawler. Nice to have you here. So don't stop. Don't stop the music. In fact, let's all get a beer. Or tea, or coffee, or whatever drink. So I'll get another one. I'm back in a minute with a new drink. And we're going to continue. And I'll also pee at the same time because I kind of need to pee now. So what? 2 minutes. I'm back. And here we are. We are back. We are back. Okay. Wizard of Oz refill. PageMaster bought 2 MLA30s, one for regular use and for experimentation. That's a great idea. Bro Weaver, I want a 1,000 kilowatt transmitter. Man, with a megawatt transmitter, I'd be doing some pirate stuff. Oh, man. Take your time going, but hurry back. Lee Burkett, this is a record for me, Joe. We have put our clocks back 1 hour. I am usually sleepy now, so we'll stay tuned. Cool. $633 Bobby Burger, 63 shortwave listeners and 3 need to repent. Yeah. Don't pee long. Oh, man. John Smith just moved to a location in Nashville with S79 pulsating electrical noise. Anyone with experience on of a ANC4 noise canceling unit? Yeah, I don't know. I heard that these noise canceling units are not always working well. It depends. Vancouver Island DXer, nice to have you here. Around lunchtime today, logged 17 medium wave stations on a 3-tube regenerative receiver that I just finished rebuilding. It was a kit that I got more than 45 years ago. Wow. Nice to have you here, Brian V7AUL. By the way, just out of curiosity, if you like what I do, paypal.me/shortwave, or on PayPal, you can just send a donation to the Yahoo email that I am posting right now. You can also join me and join 11 patrons on patreon.com, actually 12. I think it's 12 patrons right now on patreon.com/radio and computers, and give a little something every month. If you like what I do, if you appreciate having this happen all the time, every week, twice a week now, think of a little something. It really, really is helpful. And it's something that, I pay, helps me pay for, all the equipment, all the stuff that I use. And it's very important. Because you have no idea how it helped me a lot over time. So really, I want to thank everybody that have donated, and it's an honor to be here with you guys, of course. So really cool to be here. Okay. Now, anything on shortwave of interest? 9690. What's on 9690? So Spain on 9690 with some music. Are they pretty good signal from Brazil, 9664.9 like the other night. In Portuguese, Radio Voz Missionária. 9664.9. In Portuguese, 9664.9. Radio Voz Missionária. With a pretty good signal actually here. David Martin says you can use sculpting wire to create a loop of any shape you want. It is reasonably conductive and will hold its shape well. Yeah, because, if you want to replace the MLA30 loop's own wire or own metal, all you need is something that is rigid enough to always keep its shape, honestly. So it could be higher gauge wire. John Pigney, speaking of CHML, there are 8 tower arrays on the right side of the QEW as you drive from Queenston to Toronto. Kind of interesting. I always, when I was younger, I was always thinking that, I would love to, I don't know, work at a radio station or technical side of it, or. All I've got, Bolin 191 is 3485. I've got Gander Radio from Gander, Newfoundland, Canada. 3485 upper sideband with weather. There's 6604 is stronger. 10051. Yep. 6604 is stronger, but I've got 3485 Gander radio. Volmit. 6604 and 3485. I think this is one of the first single sideband signals I've ever heard in my life and decoded. And when I listen to Gander radio, that just stopped, by the way, I always kind of brings me back a little bit into the Spain in English, 9690 now. 9690 kilohertz. Spain in English. Just starting right now. So that's kind of interesting. Spain in English, 9690 with music right now. Matambali, Universal Radio is an excellent source of ham shortwave gear too. Hey, glad you're back home, Kimberly. Not too drunk, LN321, I hope, in Norway. Sean Pick, the Universal Radio is a shell of its former self. Their old store was so much bigger. I remember getting in the 90s, early 90s, getting a catalog from Universal Radio and just drooling all over the catalog. Rob, but now, Jill, you work on the best YouTube radio channel. Matambali still has Trenton on 15034 S9. I rarely get Trenton. I get it sometimes, but most of the time I don't get Trenton. I get it most when solar activity is higher. Probably because it actually bounces off at an angle that I can receive. Hey, John N. Nice to have you here, John. Sid Vic used to read the weather at Gander Radio many years ago. Oh, really? Yeah, it's been automated for a long time. Yep. Wow, cool. Mickey Dalmich just caught Reach Beyond Australia. Oh, you just removed it. Is it? Oh, I got a Grove Enterprise catalog back in the 90s also. $96.90, Brent Wayne, nice to have you here. Salamanca, New York, KC2 and XP. 20 over S9 for $96.90. Cool. So Mickey Dalmich just got Reach Beyond Australia signing off at 22:59 with an announcement in English. Very good. Missed Radio Australia this time. Serial on 15410. Yeah, we all miss Radio Australia. I think if there's one station that... Oh, maybe we should have a little survey here. You know what, guys? I'm going to ask you, for those that have been listening for a long time, what is the station on shortwave that you miss the most? What is the station on shortwave that you miss the most? So that's Spain in English. Lots of fades though, but it's there. If I had to choose one, I really did enjoy a lot HCJB, even though they were basically a religious broadcaster. I missed DX Party Line show. I missed the Música del Ecuador. I miss the musical mailbag. There's a lot of stuff there. Ham Radio Today was cool. Beautiful QSLs. Then second would probably be Radio Australia was a tough one when it left, I gotta say. David Martin, MLA30 connector mod. Would SO39 work as well as BNC? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The important thing is the quality of the cable. It doesn't matter if you use BNC or SO39. The important is to really have a good cable that will be used there. So it will work as well on an SO39 with PL259 connector. JR's Journey. Nice to have you here, Jed. KM4UBR from Niagara County, New York. RFD Extra 9690, Radio Exterior España, huge signal in Pennsylvania. John McClure, WRNO when it was the Rock of the World. Man, I listen to music there a lot. Radio Wave Seeker. Nice to have you here. BBC. Well, BBC is still on the air. This summer 7300 is there. But I get what you mean by BBC because you're probably, talking about those, like the North American frequency of 5975, which was always quite good. Matambali Radio Australia ranks way, way up there. Yeah, there's something about it for sure. John Pickney, I miss CJCX Sydney, Nova Scotia. Brett Wayne, HCJB. Jason Wallace, nice to have you here. Radio Australia. Joe Samran US, nice to have you here from Brazil. Cyberflyer 1, Radio Sweden, calling the Xers. Oh, man. Paul M, VOA. Well, I still hear VOA quite a lot here. 15580. Oh, yeah, Radio Netherlands, I gotta say. Mickey Dalmich, Radio Netherlands was special. William Conlon, Atlantic 252 on Longwave. Dark Noise NL says, station that I miss the most are Dutch stations on good old 747 AM. Kimberly misses Radio Canada International. Yeah. The more we talk about the stations, the more it makes it clear that it's kind of difficult to really choose one that you miss most compared to others, Coming from a time like Man Radio DXer with, Swiss Radio International, Radio Canada, Radio Netherlands, even Radio Moscow. I honestly, there was something about Radio Moscow in the Cold War era that I do miss. Honestly, it's so. Oh, man. Radio Netherlands, Matambali. Cheers, Journey, Mrs. 9515 BBC US broadcasts. Manrio DXers, there's our many, absolutely. Pagemaster, first station I heard was Swiss Radio International. Yep. RFDXer. Brent, Radio Sweden, Radio Australia. RFDX or HCJB for sure. DX Party Line with Clayton and Helen Howard. Yeah, and I actually have a QSL card here of the when they left the show, which was a special QSL of when they left the show. Rob, are radios with higher model numbers typically better than their lower model numbers? The Texan PL 680, 880. Doesn't mean a thing, man. These numbers are numbers. And I would put them more in the order of when they were released. So they're moving on the number. But I would not. I would not honestly put a higher numbered receiver better than the lower numbered receivers. Although here, if I look at the PL 380, 310, 600, 680, 880, they kind of have that, increasing order of being maybe a little better. But honestly, I wouldn't say that's the case, honestly. John Pickney, La Voz del Cid, Clandestine. Yeah, that one was there for a long time. I remember that. Paul M., Radio Netherlands. Suburb Flyer 1, Radio Budapest. Oh, yeah, I agree. Jean-Marc Letz. Oui, la Sécurité de la Montagne. À Rigaud, absolutely. Absolutely, I do. I've never been, but I've heard. I've heard of it, but I've never been there. Man Radio DX or Iraq Radio during Saddam era. Oh man. Radio Netherlands, the Appy station. Yep. Max S. Strong. Have a Yaesu FRG7 with the original shipping box and pack slip invoice from Guilford Electronics. Oh man. Wow. Coast to Coast on Medium Wave. Eddie Essex, Mrs. HCJB. Radio Wave Seeker 7255, Voice of Nigeria, booming in this morning. Cool. RDX or MLA 30 fits directly onto my ELAD SDR. Also, I found an adapter from eBay from SMC to PL259 and bought it a few months ago. Yeah, I got the... that's what I have here, SMC to PL259. John Pickney. Another I miss is Radio Nat King Cole, which morphed into the clandestine Radio Cayman in 7420. Oh, man. John N. What's my opinion of HARP on propagation? Well, HARP is not active right now. And I don't know what's going to happen of HARP since one of the main experiments was done with Chris Fallon. Chris Fallon was kind of the guy, at the top of the operations there. He's not with HARP anymore. So right now, HARP is kind of that dormant, not really doing anything. There's so many controversies with HARP that in reality are not worth it to mention. There's like a lot more controversy and fake news of HARP than anything else. And right now, well, we don't really know if HARP is gonna be doing anything. It's funny because the other day I saw a guy on Shortwave says, "Wow, HARP is all over the bands." It's not been operating for months. It's not on air, so don't think it is. It is not right now. Randall Klontz misses the Appy station with Tom Meyer, Radio Netherlands. It was on every Sunday night. Madboy, Radio Finland. Oh, man, Radio Finland. Yeah, Coast to Coast is still there. It's just that it's the original Coast to Coast, probably with the original, announcer. Matambale, oh, yes, Sweden calling the Xers. Oh, man. Crazy. Oh, man. I mean, I remember HCJB's DX Party Line was my Saturday night listening. I was the geek, Saturday night all alone, geeking out with DX Party Line on my good old DX100 receiver. Oh, man. I remember listening to it on 15155. And I think it played at 0200, something like that, or 0230. Oh, man. Max says Strong love radios more and more as he gets older. Kind of strange. It was never lost its magic. No, it's not lost its magic. It's still the same thing. Mad Boy says, of course, Radio Denmark, which is still on long wave. It's like Radio Norway. that was in English only on Sundays. That was kind of weird. Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. John Pickney says, Eddie starts doing Appy Station on Radio Netherlands. Remember the Tubby audio on Radio Moscow? Yeah, it sounded weird. Absolutely. Brent, I enjoyed Radio Moscow. Very compelling radio at the time of Cold War. You know, I don't know if it was the mysteriousness of... I mean, we got to admit that, because we often talk about how, you know, Radio Moscow was propaganda. But we got to admit that Radio Canada and the Voice of America was our own propaganda. And you know, anybody that doesn't see that doesn't really see reality. We also send out propaganda, a lot of it. I mean, our way of living is great, but it's not the best in the world, okay? And their way of living was, in the communist era was something. You know, I remember seeing a documentary of people that, you know, when all of that broke down, talking about how they, some people, I mean, a lot of people, you know, suffered and didn't like it, and they're happy that we moved on. But there are some people that actually missed the communist era and the way that worked, you know. It's just funny when you look at it. RFDXer, Mayak 4485 was a good one on cold winter mornings. Wow. Cool, Matt. Welcome back. Max Strong loves getting up in the middle of the night during the winter and checking the bands. Wow. Nope, of the dawn, no more. There's a lot of utility and military stuff on shortwave still for Russia, but Voice of Russia is long gone. Brett Wayne misses ABC a lot. Oh, D-Raf, the Moscow mailbag with Joe Adamov was amazing. And I still remember as a 14-year-old teenager being amazed at receiving a letter from Radio Moscow that said that they would answer my question on the air and they would give the times and the dates. And I remember my first question that I had sent out is, are there many Canadian tourists in the USSR? Ah, man. Radio Wave Seeker. Been recording bandwidth by the timer of the RSP1A starting around 8 p.m. when the signals get good instead of staying up late. Last night I recorded coast to coast on about 10 a.m. stations. Yeah, it is. Yep. V3KRP DX Party Line on ECJB was a favorite for a lot of people, I think. Bobby Burgess says, I must have joined the shortwave listening hobby when today there were almost no shortwave stations left. Well, there's still a lot of stations left. I don't agree with the almost no stations left because there's still quite a lot. Look at the IBI space schedule. There's a million things on shortwave. It's just that it's not like in the past, that's for sure. That's for sure. And it's mostly because a lot of them don't broadcast to North America. That's making that band kind of more quiet. Dave Belisle, nice to have you here. I miss Radio Canada also. I loved going by the transmitter site and was going to and tour the station, but it closed down the year before I got there. Oh, man. Sad. RFDX, back in the day on cold winter evenings, Tahiti, almost always on 15170. Yes, that was a regular. 15170 was a regular in the 80s that I would hear. I remember they would always have a little low audio on it. West of Chile on 15140. Oh, man. Radio Radio Mrs. Radio Netherlands. John Pickney. Parting with Illusions by Radio Moscow's Vladimir Posner is an interesting read. Matthew DXer, Christian Science Monitor. Oh, man, I remember that. Christian Science Monitor. Oh, man. I have a QSL card, and I think I do have a sticker somewhere. Max says strong. There's something about sitting in front of a glowing radio on a stormy winter's night. Oh, I always found it really, really cool to listen to Shortwave every time there was a snowstorm here in Montreal. There's something about it. Diraf, Dr. Von Dulos Pandemonium Medicine Show on the Royal Canadian Air Force. Yeah, that was special. That was special. Alan is listening to, still watching the show, listening to the show, Chicken Pie in the Oven, and watching the Flintstones. Oh, man. Keegan has 5,000 kilohertz WWV. That's 5 out of 5. Cool. Let's check it out here. Let's check it out here. Oops. What did I just type? 5,000. It's a little weak, but it's there. 10 megahertz. Also there. Anything on 15? Nothing on 15. So I hear 5 and 10. Pagemaster, yep. Amanda Dawn Christie did the art and experiment at HARP, and that's the last time that transmitter actually did something. Oh, man. John Pickney, I went to college with harps long ago. CE, Steve Floyd, W4YHD. Of the Dawn, Todd Harp controls the weather. It does not. You know what? That is the funny thing, because people think that, Harp could control the weather and stuff. Remember one thing. In the scheme of things, you got to look at how much power versus Earth and everything. HARP's radiated power is powerful, but it's such a small drop in the ocean when you compare it to the whole planet. That's where you see that it can't really control much. Oh, that's going to happen. That's going to happen, Mountain Valley. HARP is going to really, really make our planet flat suddenly. What do you mean so many people are mad, Mayhems are angry when you call CQDX? Why not? Yeah, you are right, Mad Radio DXer. I heard Radio Austria last winter, I think, on what was it? It's 6155. And I wonder, why didn't you, if you stay on shortwave, why didn't you continue something in English, Media Dalmage, for those that miss Radio Netherlands Media Network, host Jonathan Marks has a great site of many of the shows. Media Network Vintage Vault. So, I didn't know that. I'm going to check that out. There's so many things like John Pickney says, HF links for Italy cable and wireless. Rob says, the more I learn about radios, the more I want to learn. Cool. David says, in the decade that's gone by since I began to feel interest in radio, I've already lived the disappearance of Voice of Russia, Radio Serbia, Radio Belarus, Radio Australia. Yep. John Pickney's getting snow soon. Crazy. Milroy Peter, nice to have you on board. It is cold outside, absolutely, with the wind and everything. Joe, someday on US. My father has a LP album from beginning 80s that claims top played music on Netherlands radio station of this age. Wow. Martin says harp has been replaced with distributed equivalent Kodar. Yeah, for sure. Pagemaster, you should read about Eddie Lamar and some of the inventions she came up with regarding radio frequency. Here we're supposed to have, possibly have 4 to 6 inches of snow on Tuesday. Why did they stop Radio Moscow? You know what? It's like there's no appeal. You know, Radio Moscow existed for a reason, and it was to, well, I'm getting tons of text messages everywhere. I guess that works. Why am I getting... Yeah. I'm getting text messages. Sorry, guys. That's it when you're super connected. So I'm getting my text messages on my Windows 10 PC. So everything that I get in the text message here, it appears on my PCs. Sorry, guys. But, you know, Radio Moscow existed because they wanted to sell their propaganda to the world. And when the Cold War ended, there was the appeal of having a voice, an external voice. You know, remember one thing. A lot of the voices on shortwave were somewhat related to the Cold War era. J.D. Williamson, nice to have you here. Radio Wave Seeker is going to be your first winter listening. It's different. Each season has its own, you know, broadcasts that you'll hear and stations that you'll hear. I like to say that there's always stations that I call winter stations and summer stations and so on. Of the Dawn, won't they broadcast to America? I figured they would want to convert us. Well, the thing is, the shortwave audience in North America has probably dwindled quite a lot. I know that a lot of stations were not receiving a lot of reports from North America. Doesn't mean that there's nobody listening, but you know, when all you get is these, you know, geek guys like us with fancy radios, you kind of say, well, okay, the regular listener that had just this little portable radio isn't there anymore, you know. Zach Kalish, nice to have you here. Further up and let's reminisce about the good old days of Radio Shack. Oh, man. Radio Shack was that place where I would go all the time and drool over everything. John Pigney, the tubby audio on Radio Moscow was because of their audio going to multiple transmitters and getting the timing right because of Soviet-era transmitters maxed out at 120 kilowatt. I don't know. Oh, really? Because it did sound a little weird. It sounded kind of... it sounded kind of the process or something. Very, very weird. DRAF, Radio Netherlands, Deutsche Welle second, and Radio Luxembourg. Yeah, when they were on 6090. Radio Wave Seeker. The internet damaged shortwave, but it gave us this chat room. Yeah, I always think that I don't think the internet really damaged shortwave. Shortwave was already in decline in the 80s when I got into the hobby. There were already stations from the 70s that I missed that weren't there in the 80s when I listened. And a lot of stations disappeared from my listening in 1982 when I started, all the way up to 2000, let's say, 2000-ish, when the internet really started getting a grasp upon everybody. There were already a lot of stations that were actually off and gone. It already was happening. And so the internet, I don't agree the internet has a role in that. But I think that because, if the internet had a role, stations would all said, okay, now we're leaving shortwave, we're going to have a presence on internet. Almost no station did that. When they left, they left. They didn't want to have a presence even on the internet. Radio Netherlands, when they left, was like, bye-bye, we're gone. They didn't go on the internet and say, hey, we'll have our programs on the internet. No. And some of the stations that did do that, Radio Sweden, they found out that there were a lot less people listening to a stream on the internet than people listening in on shortwave. And I think some stations did the move thinking that they would have an audience on the internet. But once they were there, it was too late to go back. But they understood that, nobody's on the internet. Nobody's listening to us on the internet. Mad Reader DXer, war-torn countries like Libya and Syria have not been back on shortwave for years. JR's Journey. Just got a package and a mail order from RadioShack.com. Huh. It's just, Yes, Michael Sauter, and it's actually making the planet flat. Yeah, like J.D. Williamson, HARP was about investigating the effects of radio waves hitting the ionosphere. And, eating it up, it has a lot to do with communications. Heating the ionosphere, trying to see if you can alter propagation of radio signals. In a very limited way, it actually worked. But it worked only in a very specific way, Thank you. Hey, you're back, Kevin Wood. Check my email. Interval signal. Oh, man. And that is an interval signal of what station? What station? How about we get really, really nostalgic, guys? Okay? You guys want to be nostalgic? We're going to be nostalgic. So, you guys remember... Let's check it out here. Let's go here. Okay. So what was that station that we just played? John Pickney, Radio Canada, pre-RCI, was one of the more civilized and entertaining. J.D. Williamson, about Radio Moscow, can you hear the buzzer? Can I hear the buzzer? Let's check it out. 4625. Can I hear the buzzer? Not hearing the buzzer tonight at all. At all. As John Pinkney says, shortwave stopped being a factor in the U.S. Oops. Seems that I clicked myself live. For some reason. Yeah. Pretty much. And the Cold War really ended a lot of the reason why we should be on shortwave also. Buzz Gold, nice to have you here from Minnesota. Yeah, I think it is. Or in Montana? I'm all mixed up with the U.S. states, guys. I'm sorry. We didn't learn that in school in Canada. Mad Reader DXer. Israel on shortwave. Yeah, call Israel. Oh, Galei Zahal. Yes, I remember that. I have a Galei Zahal QSL card, which is nice. Radio Wave Seeker. Glad to know that stuff, Joe, because it does take away my animosity level on the internet. No. You know, remember, shortwave was already in decline in the 80s. It is not something that the internet really had to play. And actually, it's the other way around. The internet, for me, the internet is actually an enormous resource of what we can hear and easy information about, you know, to know what we are listening to. And shows like this that are complement to our hobby today. Rob says, interesting you say that because I was the only one who was interested in radio in my family. Strange one else even liked the radio like me. I rarely ever saw them even listen to a basic radio. Honestly, you know, one of the things that is interesting here is the fact that AM FM radio listening. Yeah, okay. My mom listened to the radio. Radio was always on at home. I remember going to my friend's house and never hearing a radio turned on. Honestly. The other thing is, when I was into the hobby, my best friend, one of my best friends, Jean-Pierre, from the time, was hooked because of me. But in all of my high school, with all the people that were around me, no one listened to shortwave. When I did my, when I went in front of the class and talked about shortwave, not a single person in the class knew of shortwave radio. So, you know, it's, even then, even in the 80s, when shortwave was still quite popular, it wasn't a thing. It was something that very little, there's not a lot of people that actually knew anything about, honestly. Where can we find data about who still has shortwave radios and who needs it to get uncorrupted news? Oh, that's interesting, Kevin. I don't know. You know, I always tend to think, and I always say that I think if you've been listening to shortwave for a long time in different stations, I always like to say that we probably have a more open-minded way of thinking of the world. I mean, even you guys in the U.S., okay? Because I'm a Canadian guy. And for me, my growing up was two big nations, the United States of America and the USSR, kind of battling it out in ideology, okay? Because I'm not a U.S. citizen. I am a Canadian guy that, for me, my impression of my teenage years is being stuck in the middle of two countries that are, like ruling and controlling what's going to happen with my life, maybe. With the atomic weapons and everything. So I always had a way of thinking that was like, how dare two countries that don't even amount to a quarter of the world's population decide the fate of all the rest of the planet? Who the hell are you guys doing that? Who do you think you are? That's pretty much my teenage year thinking. Now, who do you think you are that you can decide the fate of other people around the world just because you guys are like, I don't know, teenagers that still are trying to fight out something, or I don't know. So, of course, it gave me and being Canadian, and of course we had our own way of thinking, and, a lot of the Canadian way of thinking, there's a chunk of it that comes from, the U.S. way of thinking also, because we two countries that were kind of friendly and friends. And I had my Canadian way and my own personal way, because, it's not just that. We have our own personal way of viewing things and listening to things, For me, listening to Radio Moscow or Radio Berlin, there was propaganda, of course. But at the same time, it wasn't all that bad. It was a very complex period. People that didn't live through the Cold War, you guys don't know what you missed. It was something. In the Cold War, it was, okay, if somebody says something a little too heavy on one side, it escalates really rapidly into some kind of, okay, so I'm going to wake up tomorrow dead because of a, somebody was going to drop a bomb on me or something, It was crazy times. It was really crazy times, honestly. Oh, the Dawn. Since ARP's not up broadcasting, will they turn opening portals to the other dimensions? Radio Wave Seeker. I remember making my first AM crystal radio in 7th grade. Wow. John Pickney. When I was a kid, one of my future employers had a show with samples of shortwave newscasts. Oh, man. Oh, man. Please play Swiss Radio International jingle. That was my favorite. Swiss Radio International. Let's check it out here. Here is... Swiss Radio International interval signal. That was really taken from Shortwave, just listening to it. Oh, man. Kimberly, my husband picked up some British ale for one of our friends. He randomly picked up one by Wells canned sticky toffee pudding ale. Oh, my God, it was so good. We ordered some, and my husband loves it as well. Cool. Todd J. Riddle. Nice to have you here, Todd, from South Dakota. Radio Wave Seeker. So many people make fun of me because I'm infatuated with radio. Latest joke, I was told I needed to buy 2 really big ones and use them like board signs that say I love radio. Yeah, you know, we are a weird bunch, you know, like there are weird bunches of people that, you know, it's like somebody that dresses oddly, you know. Rick Temman, nice to have you here from Clearwater, Florida. Our Walker would not even know about shortwave if it wasn't for the internet. So you see, you know. 6945, very weak signal. 6945. Anything here? I got nothing here. In Quebec, do you have counties just like in the United States? Yeah, absolutely. Like, for example, here in Montreal City, I live in a part of the city that's called Rosemont. But if you go south, you will have counties. Absolutely, you have kind of a similar way of doing it. Yes, absolutely. John Pigney, in college, several of us were tabbed through about a math exam with our pens. After a few minutes, a professor tapped his pen. 73, the W4RND, with a grin on his face. None of us knew he was a ham. Is Radio Marty still U.S. propaganda as much as when it started? It is, you know. It is, you know, a propaganda medium for sure. Like Radio Havana, Cuba is the propaganda medium of Cuba. Jason Wallace, nice to have you here. Yeah, the buzzer has been, when I listen to an SDR in Europe, the buzzer has been having a hum noise. Absolutely. Israel is not on shortwave anymore. Radio Wave Seeker, Jill needs to record Paul meowing and use it for his interval signal. Yeah. Hey, Jim Torres, breaker. Oh, man. John Pigney, when I was really little in the early 60s, we had 2 hams in my neighborhood. One took another guy with me under his wing. The other guy was older and got sent to Germany and then to Vietnam. Wow. Yeah, Kevin Wood, Romeo Dallaire. Yeah, absolutely. That guy got traumatized with what he saw in Africa. Totally. Aaron Walker, Carl Sagan would agree with you, Jill. Sunspots, very quiet right now, the sunspots. Can tell you that. Radio Wave Seeker, if there are aliens, they probably agree with your view on the 2 countries and a never-ending pissing match. Jean Pickney, Gilles, here's a better one. Imagine the world impact of a nuke exchange confined. Same thing, absolutely. Same thing. It's how they're 2 countries. I pinpointed these 2 because these were the ones from my time. But I'm not saying that it's you know, just those. You're right on any countries. Like China would have one with any other country, you know. Any country that has the nuke, the nuclear weapons. It's mostly that, honestly. My comment is not based on the fact that it's typically U.S. and USSR. It's how can 2 countries decide on the fate of the rest of the world, you know? Mika Dalmage, Who Do You Think You Are? A great 70s album by Deep Purple. Oh, man. Yeah, Two Tribes video is, it was banned so many places. I saw the Two Tribes video on the local music channel here in Canada, but it was banned in a lot of places because it depicted the U.S. president and the USSR chairman as having a war in a kind of a arena where everything was possible. I still remember that that video was amazing. It was blocked, and it was banned in a lot of places. Radio Wave Seeker. What's crazy with the Enigma machine? The Germans were transmitting on open waves because they believed the system was unbreakable. Yep. Absolutely. Hey, Mr. Paul. Kevin, when this one brings back a lot of memories. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, It's pretty crazy. You're always learning for sure. Radio Budapest interval signal. From what era? Because there are different interval signals, I believe, from Radio Budapest. So, Radio Budapest interval signal. So, old one. Old one is here. That's the old one from the 80s. So that's Radio Budapest, the old one. Radio Moscow. Amazing. Brings back a lot of memories. A lot of memories. Oh, man. Yep. Bands were so crowded back then. It was difficult sometimes to listen to a station because of the crowding in the bands. Hey, Football Academico. Let's have you here, Benjamin Arola. Trenton Military 6754. Am I hearing it? In winter time, it's a hard one for me here. Max says strong approaching 4 hours. Jill Shortwave Beast. Yeah, when conditions are right. I said a CB radio. Yeah, absolutely. Take care, John Pickney. Yeah, glory days of shortwave radio. Lots of old interval signals, absolutely. It's a nice one. If you have listened in the past, you're gonna be nostalgic. I can tell you that. Absolutely. Kimberly says, my parents had a National Panasonic RF888 shortwave radio. Heard a high-pitched sound. I listened for hours only to find out it was a mobile phone signal. I heard people making calls. It was clear. Radio Wave Seeker, how do you think I felt during the 80s when I lived less than 5 minutes from the Rock Island Arsenal, a major nuclear target? Yep. 4210, 4210. I got no signal here. But I believe, let me just check something here. 4210. And I think I heard something around that frequency. 4209. Yeah, 4210 in your area. I'm not hearing it here, but it is a Navtex signal probably you're listening to, and it's probably L2C from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I have a video. I actually received that one a few months back. Use the software and use the go to Navtex and decode. It's probably Argentina Navtex. Hey, Buddy Bean in North Georgia. Yes, you are, Kevin Wood. We are. Oh, man. Keegan says, remember my dad, W9JEF, played that team from Radio Moscow on his piano. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, USSR, Radio Peace and Progress. Radio Peace and Progress. It was a little different. Radio Peace and Progress. Interval signal. Band. It's Radio Singapore. Well, I remember that interval signal. No, it doesn't seem like Mickey, but we had to be in a very specific... How many years did Radio for Peace International in Costa Rica broadcast? It was a very small amount of time, honestly. So, hey, guys, we're almost at 4 hours. I want to thank everybody for being here. Don't forget that if you enjoyed today's show, if you enjoyed, what I do, paypal.me/shortwave, or just, PayPal to the Yahoo email that you see here. It's really, really important. It helps me a lot, tremendously, buying equipment, maintaining the broadcast. I'm here twice a week. Hope that you enjoy what I do. If you do, a little contribution is welcome. I want to thank everybody for being here, as usual. And we are back next week on Wednesday. Don't forget, 2 times a week. We are Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 0 UTC. We are Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 20 UTC. So take care, everybody. Love you all. Hey, Stephen Houghton, nice to have you here from Wales, UK. And, good old days of shortwave. The interval signals are powerful for that. Having an idea of what, we listened to back in the good old days. Bringing us back to some older moment in our life. So, good night, everybody. Stay safe. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Love you all. And see you next week. Stay safe now. Bye-bye.